Welcome back to The Flat. We have a very special episode, a trade special today as the trade period is kicking off. Joining me as always, I have Jesse and Druzy. Boys, I was about to say, how was your weekend? But it's kind of mid-weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, very early on a Saturday morning. This is the earliest show we've ever done.
Ever.
On True Footy. It's safe for those UK ones where I'd get up at like 4 a.m. to watch the Eagles lose by 100 points live on air. But there's a nice smell in the air at the moment, the trade period. This is where the Eagles fans and North fans make their money back, and the draft, of course. Druzy, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm licking my lips for some Jai Sarong action. That's heating up.
That's disgusting.
What?
Why'd you have to phrase it like
What was that? What was the thing you said earlier, Drews? He's the...
I said he's a 2-time BNS. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't mention the VFL part.
Yeah, DNF's a DNF. No, now that the free agency window is open and the trade period is just around the corner, there are some juicy headlines that have come out in the last couple of days, and we're going to get through all of it here on True Footy.
We absolutely are. We've got some comments kicking in here. Sean Punchavaya says 3 top 10s for West Coast, Jesse.
Could be on the cards. We will do a West Coast segment in this particular show. But I think we're going to go through this period of looking at teams in isolation that could really shape this trade period. And we're going to talk about Melbourne, Gold Coast, and West Coast now have an enormous amount of draft picks and a lot of trade requests. So it'll be very interesting to see how this all works.
Shan actually followed that up with, I hate to say it, but Kane Corn's comments about long-term contracts are proving to be right. So many players being shown the door or looking elsewhere with significant time remaining on contracts.
Well, it's hit or miss, isn't it? Because you have situations like, from a Freo perspective, like Shea Bolton last year, right? Like Richmond locked him into a long-term contract, which gave them bargaining power to then ask for multiple first-round picks. Whereas if it's someone like Clayton Oliver, who now becomes a very tough player to trade for the Melbourne Football Club. So, it's a flip of the coin. Sometimes it protects you. Sometimes it comes back to bite you in the ass.
It's a tricky one too, though, isn't it? Because I feel Richmond last year with Liam Baker, who was out of contract, they probably got seemingly overs for him.
Yeah.
That he was actually...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird one.
It is. There's still like a bit of an element of like goodwill, I feel, between the clubs and the agents and stuff like that, wanting to get the deals done.
Yeah, Matthew Clark came from Richmond, the list manager that we have.
Yep.
He came from Richmond, had a previous affiliation with the club and relationship with the players. And I think his West Coast philosophy in general is to get the deal done. And I think there's something to be said for sort of massaging your relationship, so to speak, with agents and keeping the right agents happy, because those agents also manage other players that you want to keep or target. So there's a whole other game here that doesn't get speculated on at all in the media or by fans that we're just not privy to.
Do you think if, in that Liam Baker situation specifically, do you think if he was playing the club that he left hadn't had the success, he wouldn't have felt, because I know there was an element with Baker where he felt a loyalty to Richmond. He actually said, like, I'm only going to go if it gets Richmond like a reasonable deal.
Yeah.
That was sort of like almost coming from him as a mouthpiece himself. Do you think if he'd, like, say he'd come from a North Melbourne who hadn't had the success and they haven't sort of built that loyalty between each other, like you wouldn't get that situation? So the success actually helps you.
Yeah, that's probably true. I think I remember like one of the first live streams you ever came over for, Drew. In fact, it might have been in the 2020 grand final. I remember you saying that you had heard through the grapevine Liam Baker was going to end his career in WA. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember the bloke that told me. I was at a heavy metal gig. And
Heavy metal?
Yeah, I met a relative of Liam Baker and he was like, yeah, like he's having fun winning flags and stuff, but he'll end his career playing for West Coast.
Yeah, why win flags when you can join the Eagles?
Exactly.
We've got 118 already watching. Thank you guys for joining. We've got a couple of donations. One from Gridio. Thank you for the donation. He says, can I get a vibe check from the crew on Mitch Stevens?
Oh, Gridio.
Who is that? Who's
Gridio's my boy. He hits me up sometimes on Instagram. He's a big Mitch Stevens fan. Mitch Stevens is a father-son to the Crows.
Right.
That is a good question. Can I get a vibe check on Mitch Stevens? I haven't sort of seen much of him for a while.
Who's his dad, sorry? Is it like Scott Stevens? Is that a
Stevens?
Yeah.
Steven Stevens, yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I think he'll be a late pick. I'm not 100% sure. I guess because the Crows haven't had a large number of father-sons. Like, they're really in on this guy. But I think he will be, late-ish. But I assume the Crows will pick him up.
And we got another comment from Sebastian who says, Hump D.
Yes, thank you so much for your donations to Gritio, and Sebastian Leopold. That's a sick name. $7.99. Thank you so much, Humph D. Yeah, we're going to cover all that and more. There's a lot of trade action to go under the table, boys. To quote Dylan. And this is a crazy time of year. It actually might be one of the biggest trade periods I can think of. When you think of the caliber of names that have been floated, you got Petracca, Oliver, Curnow. Like if you'd
Merritt.
Merritt. If you'd gone back 3 years or 2 years, 18 months even, and said these players would feature heavily in a trade speculation video, you think, holy shit, that's the biggest one ever. Even like Oscar Allen, who is a good player, has been relegated to like second or third tier in this like trade period because of the caliber of names. So lots of action to go onto the table, as I said.
Do you think there's an element of that? Sorry to cut you off there, Jesse.
No, I was done.
There's a correlation between like seemingly weaker draft, stronger trade period, and vice versa. Like I don't think we saw the player movement last year. It was a little bit of an overhyped window, really strong draft that year. So clubs were more trying to get into that. And whereas this year, clubs are kind of going, I don't fancy the draft that much.
I think you're absolutely bang on there. And I think pick swaps was never more difficult than it was last year. We saw, both of our clubs engage in trades for pick swaps that to everyone seemed crazy. And I think that was a product of people, a lot of teams really placing a premium on the picks that they had, and therefore it made more sense for them to invest in the draft that year. And comparatively, this year it's a bit of a shallower draft, and so therefore, I think we are seeing clubs more willing to part ways with picks. Albeit now it gets a little more complicated. You can trade 2025, 6 and 7 picks. And then there's Tasmania around the corner, so there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we got a lot to get through in this show. Should we start off with the current trade news, or do we want to keep rolling through?
Actually, I would love to hear some thoughts about the draft combine which took place.
You want to do that now?
Yeah, I think we'll open that up. Just a light,
like
jaunty one off the wrists.
Yes. I went down yesterday to the AIA Centre, which is Collingwood's training ground, for the 2 kilometre time trial. So the combine, we're sort of in the middle of it here on Saturday morning. Sunday, you get all the jumping and the sprinting and stuff like that. But they did the 2K time trial yesterday. They pretty much get put into small groups, run around. You don't know the exact time. Like me watching from the sideline, I don't get exact times. A few of them got released from journalists and stuff like that, but you can kind of just see who wins their group and stuff like that. So probably the biggest takeaways for me, just to reel through this, Cameron Nairn, a really talented forward from South Australia. He had a big national championships. He won his group as a key position forward, which was a bit unexpected. I reckon he came in somewhere around the 620 mark. 630 mark, somewhere in there, which is really good for a key position forward and probably unexpected. You don't see those bigger guys like that do as well in the 2K time trial typically. Cody Curtin, probably the biggest takeaway overall for me, and not because he won his group or ran the most exceptional time, but I really saw this guy as being a back of the pack, struggling, almost getting lapped at some point sort of guy. He doesn't move particularly well as a player. He's more reliant on his strength. And his sort of, dogged attitude to this 2K time trial really took me. And I have heard recruiters talk about that before, where it's not really the outcome of these events. It's more so the how and how you push yourself through it. He came out really strong out of the blocks. He got a lead on the group, which was very surprising. They ate away at that a little bit, but he still managed to come 3rd or 4th in his group overall, which I thought was incredible. He vomited after it. He really put in
the Cam Rayner effect.
Yeah, he really, really put in the hard yards to this. So I think that kind of, they'd be looking at that going, okay, on a big stage, the National Combine, he's come out and really tried to push himself. They don't really like those runners that try to run within themselves and aren't really brave enough to kind of push themselves at the start. So
yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, Angus Heasley said CDT was sub 6 minutes.
That's promising.
That's not correct, I don't think.
No, that's not promising.
Yeah, no, he wasn't subs. He was, I think he was.
Dalton was just under 6 minutes.
He was sub 6:30, which is kind of that.
Right.
If you're sub 6:30, you're considered a pretty elite runner. So he was sub 6:30. He wasn't sub 6 minutes. He was impressive though, as well. Sam Grill was really good. He was in the group with Jack Dalton, who ran the 5:55. Jack Dalton probably a bit more of a later prospect, but an incredible runner. Sam Grill, I feel like if he puts together, we know he's got the speed, so having that balance of endurance, being able to go a 6:10, 6:15 in the 2K time trial, that shows you that he does have the endurance to be able to play midfield at the AFL level, so that's really impressive. And Blake Threadgold, who I said was a bolter a couple of weeks ago, he had a really good run too. I think he finished 2nd
Boy,
in
does
his
he.
group. So
You can see the temptation with Sam Grill. Like there's real stakes there. Blake Threadgold.
I was waiting for where you're going with that.
It doesn't even really make sense. Blake Threadgold is one that I'm interested in. I feel like I'd love West Coast to pick a key back. There doesn't seem to be a lot of rock solid key back prospects in that top 20 as it currently stands. If you look at all the rankings outside of like Xavier Taylor, if you consider him that sort of traditional key back, which I'm not sure if he is because he's probably a little bit more than that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
So Threadgold, like that could also just the fact that there's scarcity of that position also maybe influence his ranking. So if he tests well and there's positional scarcity there, I could see Threadgold really bolting up.
I feel like Threadgold too, like he has the scope to be able to really like push that position. Like he's very much, I guess the more I watch him, the more I think Harris Andrews, just how he can get off his man as well. And he's very, like he covers the ground so well. So it was good to see him in action in the 2K time trial. I think he'll test pretty well for speed as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, very athletic big man that can be offensive as well as defensive. I love him. Probably from a negative perspective, not that I want to go into that too much. Zeke Hewland, don't know whether he just sort of, he's a Gold Coast Academy player, very much sat at the back of the pack. Didn't really push a time that you would, suggest was like a midfielder, which was interesting. Sam Cumming, expectedly, not great from a long distance perspective. He's definitely better in those shorter efforts. So you can look at that one of two ways, right? You can look at it, he's got the scope to be able to improve his running, and then he can kind of go in and be a more impactful midfielder because his contest stuff is absolutely brilliant.
Injured at the wrong time, presumably. Like I forget how long ago that was, but that would, I'd imagine the players who stay fit like really brace themselves for this combine as an opportunity to build their, or get their times down, so to speak. Sam Cumming probably was a little bit hampered from that respect. So I wonder if there's even more upside because of that.
It's a very good point. And players do these days, like they get themselves really, really like they start to train specifically for the combine. You see the guys in there trying to work on their speed, work on all of these aspects that kind of come into this, improve their jumping and stuff in the short term to get ready for this.
It really is just supplementary information though, isn't it? Like the footy form's probably 90% of the player profile.
100%. It's in some ways, I feel like the combine is better for us kind of on the outside, analysing the draft. I think for the recruiters, like they have this information anyway.
Yeah.
They've been looking at their GPSs throughout the season and seeing how they do it in game. So it's whether somebody runs a blah, blah, blah time, it doesn't really matter for them.
Yeah, a lot more goes into it, like your higher speed running and all that type of stuff at GPS shows rather than just like,
I actually think there's also a little bit of a thing. Like, I don't know if you guys remember last year, Gabe Stumpf, key position forward, who...
That name doesn't sound real.
Gabe Stumpf.
I know the name, I forget.
So he came in and pulled off an incredible 20-metre sprint, like across the combine overall. He was one of the best performed, but when you actually watched him play, it was like he was the biggest surprise when you got to the combine. You're like, where's that? I watch him play football and I don't see that.
Yeah.
And I almost think when recruiters see that, it's a bit of a negative. He ended up not getting drafted.
There you go.
After being one of the best performed. And he had a pretty good season as well, but it was almost like the disparity between that. They were like, something's going on here.
Yeah, you got to be able to bring that onto the grass, brother.
Sounds like he was caught standing out of his crease.
He was. Just the last three I wanted to mention, Dyson Sharp, Oliver Greaves and Dylan Patterson were probably the biggest names that did not compete. So I'm not 100% sure on the status of those guys at the moment, whether they're carrying injuries, whether with Patterson it's a bit of a precautionary thing. And again, he's a Gold Coast Academy, so there's not a lot of benefit. That's where I sort of put Zeke Hewland's poor performance into that as well. Was he actually just have Gold Coast kind of said like, don't push yourself.
Yeah.
Don't get injured in this. We're taking you anyway. So
Sharp would have been a good one to see some test times.
100%.
Yeah, just because of the strengths that he has, but also the perceived limitations. It'd be great to see some like data on that.
100%. Again, like that's where you wonder. I don't know. He might have a serious injury, something like that. But you kind of wonder, like the players that it doesn't suit, you often see them pull out.
Yeah,
and I just wonder how much it's their manager saying to them, like it's probably best for your status in the draft to actually sit this one out.
Harley Reid never tested either. He had an injury around the combine. It would be fascinating to see that because I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't actually test that well. But when you actually watch him play, he can do things that other players can't athletically.
Totally. I think he'd be one that would like really thrive in strength events.
Yeah.
Strengthy speed stuff. I think he'd do pretty well, but you're probably right.
I think it's like, I reckon he wouldn't do well over 20 meters, but he would do really well over 100.
Interesting.
Maybe a bit like a Jed Walter, because we saw Jed Walter win the halftime sprint.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, takes a little bit. Like, I think Sam Lawler would be in that category as well. Takes a little bit longer just to get up that head of speed.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I'm going from the eye test there. I don't know if he's the most explosive. Like Matt Rowell might be quicker off like 2 steps.
Really?
Maybe.
I'd assume in my head that Harley Reid is quicker.
But I feel like Harley Reid gets quicker after the first 20 metres. Like if you watch some of his highlights from his first season, this is a massive tangent, but it's just
this is a tangent. No, it's an interesting conversation though, because I think there is it's sometimes hard to tell by the eye because mass comes, explosiveness is a combination of speed and strength, right?
Yes.
And like mass comes into that as well. So I think sometimes those bigger body players can appear quicker, but their feet to actually get out over that first couple of meters is not actually as quick.
Yeah.
Mouses. Widescreen. Oh no, it wasn't widescreen. New Heaven says players like Bo Allen, it really helped their draft stock. So talking to that, like whether doing the combine helps or thwarts your
That's a good point.
Draft stock.
Absolutely.
Mind you, he did end up sliding.
Bo Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He was tipped to go as high as 6 and he ended up going pick 16.
Was he the first pick out of WA last year?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Oh, not clearly. Cody Angove came in a lot higher than people expected. But but Bo Allen, I think he was probably just seen as a little bit too raw to go in that top 10. And given the quality, I think other years he probably could have. We've got a comment here saying, are they really talking about running?
We are,
Yeah, I went for a run this morning actually.
Oh, therefore we are qualified.
Yes.
Yeah.
I sort of stopped halfway because it was an easy out and there was a nice little river flowing through, which I thought I'd stop by.
That was a great anecdote.
Yeah. And then I had some avocados and mushrooms for breakfast.
Please stop.
Trade period, boys. It is getting warm, Jesse.
Yeah, I reckon it's time we crack into some of the trade rumours that have exploded over the last 7 days since we did this show, grand final day, as predictable as that is. So I figure we can go through, we can segment it into the confirmed requests / moves. We've had some players join officially to their new club through free agency, and we've had formal trade requests. And then there's a whole stack of ones we can discuss that are pure speculation at this point, but still could well and truly happen. So I'm going to rattle through some of the moves that have been formalised, or at least have had formal requests. So we saw Silvani and TDK join St Kilda. If I'm not mistaken, these are the only 2 moves as well that the compensation has already come out, I think. The Blues have already received picks 8 and 19 as compo. Maybe just a quick one off the bat. We've talked about this storyline a fair bit, but would the Blues be happy with compensation of picks 8 and 19 for TDK and Silvani, do you think?
Yeah, he'd be pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, I think that's great compensation.
Yeah.
It's probably it's probably not overs for TDK. I feel like 19 feels slightly high for Silvani. Not that it should work like this, but then the strength of the draft kind of comes into that. And once the picks push back, it is quite late as well. The one thing to note here, that Carlton aren't necessarily going to be able to use these picks in the 2025 draft anyway, because they've got Harry Dean there as the father-son. Okay. So those picks would go to match that. He's likely to be a top 10 pick or get a bid in the top 10. So they're going to be better off to be able to push these back into further drafts. And that's why you're probably seeing them posturing a lot for players in the trade period as well.
Yeah, that's right. Like we've talked about, the Curnow situation and how they only want established players. And I thought it was somewhat curious. And then you think about it, they've got 2 first-round father-sons who are quite highly rated, in particular Walker next year. So it makes no sense for them to I suppose, subject to what the new rules are around matching bids next year and how much more difficult that is. But you can understand why they don't want just like first rounders this year, which they then have to shuffle on anyway.
When you have those like Harry Dean, Cody Walker, like 2 very high prospects as father-sons in a row, you're actually probably better off just to get out of the draft a little bit. Just look at who's on the market.
They're thinking that Jack Silvani's contract is going to be at like $900K a year or something like that, like something stupid. Do you think he's worth that?
No,
but it's hard to speculate that because the money is just sort of like we don't know what the total budget is, if that makes sense. Yeah. So what we're really talking about is like what percentage of the salary cap is that, and how much is that likely to escalate? So like. Oscar Allen's getting around $1 million a year from Brisbane. Starcevic has been offered not far below that. Jack Silvani, but is that going to get closer to the median price of what AFL players are paid in 5 years?
True.
Now that TDK, Nazaya, Harley Reid are on $2 million, essentially twice.
Nazire and Silvani are on the same list. Like, God, I don't know. They're feeding a lot of money into these top budget players, but I think we spoke about it already. Like, they're pretty much just going, Nazire is here for the next 2 years. Let's throw everything at this next couple of years and see what happens. And yeah, TDK joins as well. He's on that massive multi-million-dollar deal, and that has pushed out Roland Marshall, who has nominated a move to Geelong, which wasn't a massive surprise, but it's a big move for Geelong to make, and an area of need, an area that they absolutely need to fill with Reece Stanley. He's old and got absolutely downed out in the grand final, I thought.
Yeah, I think if you're Geelong, it's an incredible move, really. He's at like 29.
Yeah.
So he kind of fits their age profile as far as like pushing for a premiership.
Borderline All-Australian last year as well.
Borderline All-Australian. You think about what it does, like flexibility-wise, to free up a blitz halves who they can now use in different positions as well. So they don't, like, typically, I think Rowan Marshall particularly does suit the Cats as well, because they don't really play that stoppage-dominant game. Rowan Marshall's not really a stoppage-dominant ruckman. He's someone that gets involved on the outside. So I feel, in a way, like they'll just have a better version of what they wanted Reece Stanley to do anyway, just a bit more of an accomplished player. So perfect for them. It does bring that question in. I personally, I like what the Saints are doing, because I think they're being aggressive as a smaller Melbourne club. It's difficult to find ways to get better, and you're probably not going to just do it going back to the draft. So they're having a crack at least. Like, it might blow up in their face. It's difficult to lose a player like Marshall, who's a sort of cultural guy. How do you guys feel about that if you're a Saints fan? Are you happy with what's going on at the moment? Or do you feel... I feel like sometimes there's an element with the spending where fans they get a little bit too involved in the spending, and they think they're losing their own money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. One other thing I was going to add around the big contracts for these guys, there's always a premium on free agency moves to motivate a player to move. It's going to be their biggest contract of their lives, usually a free agency contract. It's also the premium you pay for not having to trade anything. So I think clubs look at that. They're like, we'll be willing to spend more on a salary to ensure, and this might not even apply to Silvani in particular, but ensure the other club does not match and force a trade. I know that my club, in the position it is, we would rather value the draft picks and the capital that we have in that space over salary cap. I don't really care if we overpay for a free agent to ensure we don't have to give up a first round draft pick. So these are all factors. As for St Kilda, I mean, I would have thought it would have been a really... Actually, I did realise I'm not answering your question here. I was going to answer, are they disappointed to lose Marshall? I was thinking...
Go into that, and then we can continue to
Well,
explore.
I was actually just going to sideline a little bit into the fact that Cal Wilkie has reaffirmed his commitment to St Kilda. I think that was probably the far more important retention for them. And I think even Saints fans probably would have acknowledged it would have been great to get all these players, but if you lose a Cal Wilkie in the same breath... And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was... hopefully the chat can help us. I don't know if Wilkie was offered more money to stay at St Kilda or if he just didn't sign a contract with the Bulldogs. But I think that was a really important signing for him, amongst other things.
I think from what I read, they upped it.
I thought I read that too.
So he was more in line with those top guys that are coming in as well. He'd been underpaid for a long time. And I think that was a part of it. And then obviously gets a captaincy as well. But yeah, I think sometimes like fans can be a little bit, I don't know, they think like what is actually the worst thing that could happen in this situation for the Saints? I guess
you're getting TDK in as well. So it's not like you're losing Marshall and then you've depleted one stock.
Yeah.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, as Jesse would say.
I don't think you've actually lost anything on field from a playing perspective.
No.
I think you've actually probably improved that,
100%.
at least from a ceiling point of view. I know Marshall's had a better career so far than TDK just because he's older. But you're improving that. It's more, I guess, relationships and stuff like that with Marshall. He seemed to be like a pretty good club guy. But I don't think you can always be just safe with those moves as well. Like you have to get aggressive.
I just got a question here from Matt McCann. It's a good one.
Shout out to Matt McCann.
Yes. If Silvani and Allen contracts similar, why did Carlton get pick 19 and not a higher pick? Obviously, for those who don't know, I think Matt probably knows this. Obviously, it's tied to the ladder position, but obviously we're talking band 2 versus band 1. I'm pretty sure Silvani's 28 and Allen's 26, and I think that does go a long way into compensation. And
it's not purely salary.
No, it's not. There's like secret herbs and sprites, and and the AFL can sort of massage a result if they want it. In this case, Silvani being 28. Thank you, AFL. Silvani's contract was obviously length of deal goes into it. I'm not sure how long. Did you say how long Silvani's contract was for? It was
well,
just
900K, and they reckon it's like a 4.5 million deal, so probably
that's
4 years.
5 years.
Oh yeah, maths.
Yeah, mathematics.
And we do know
so
that
similar, probably.
there is always an element with the AFL, I think, where they kind of give the picks out based on how fucked you are. Like we've seen that as well. North Melbourne and West Coast receiving like particularly high compensation
probably,
picks.
Yeah.
I don't know. They obviously wouldn't say that.
I think, and I don't know if this is still true, but I think like best and fairest finishes count, and it's possibly also true. How much was Allen making in a ranking at West Coast versus Silvani?
So
I think that's also
where you
considered.
sit
In the pecking order of the club you're leaving.
Yeah, interesting.
I've heard that, but obviously we there's no objective criteria that we go through.
It does feel a little bit with Silvani. Like it feels why 19 feels a little bit high for me, even though the salary is high, is that Carlton weren't even always playing this guy.
Yeah.
Like he was playing in the twos, like as recently as 2024, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah.
No, he didn't even come back from an ACL.
I'm sure there was like a period relatively recently, like don't quote me on it, but where he was actually not even in their best side. I know this year they've had tons of injuries and he's been really consistent. Maybe a Carlton fan will be a little bit better on that week to week, but I feel like there's been form issues and, he's been that swing man as well. Like is he a defender? Is he a forward? Those sorts of things.
So he missed all of 2024
Okay.
with an ACL, but yeah, he's never put together a full season. That's another thing I was sort of thinking of. I feel like he has been a bit of a swingman. So he's played forward, he's played in the ruck at times, and he's played in defence. He's obviously not going to play in the ruck for St Kilda, but do you think he'd be better off as a forward or a back? Because I feel like he only went into defence out of necessity for the Blues.
I like him as a defender.
Yeah, I would
personally,
agree with that. Yeah.
But at the same time, I actually look at St Kilda's team and I think maybe they could use him more as a forward, but then that also makes me think that they might use Alex Tyree as a forward because I do think they see him as that player in the long term. But whether they think he's ready to do that yet is another question. So that'll be an interesting watch. But certainly from a club, like they don't have, as far as from a key position forward perspective, I don't think the Saints have the best quality there.
Yeah, the swing.
With James Worpel was also nominated to move to Geelong, so I'm not sure if you said that, but the Cats now have 2 players signing, and they only hold picks 18 and 38, if I'm not mistaken, to get a deal done for Owen Marshall, who is contracted and a deal would have to get done. They're also in the market for Curnow, so I have no idea how this gets done, if at all.
And they try to get Charlie Curnow as well.
Yeah.
Where does James Worpel rank in Geelong midfielders?
So Bailey Smith, Max Holmes. I know these guys play pretty fluid roles.
Yeah. Atkins is better.
Atkins is better, and then he's the next one.
Yeah, that's probably true.
There's nobody. I think in some ways I feel like they'd probably use like Worpel can't really play anywhere else.
Yeah.
I think Atkins, because he's got that defensive ability, he can go and play roles on others as well. It's fixes a little bit for Geelong because I do feel like they could be better at just getting on top in the stoppages.
Yeah.
And Worpel will provide something in that, but he's not an elite player. I don't think he's ever been elite, even at that one specific role. Like he's not as good as the best first posse guys.
Yeah.
And he doesn't offer you a lot on the outside.
No.
Like he can probably sneak forward and hit the scoreboard, but I don't reckon he's done that even consistently across his career. So he'll be a nice like depth piece there, and I think someone that they can kind of rely on. But yeah, he's not majorly moving the needle for him.
Well, yeah, in 2019 he was the BNF for Hawthorn, and then this year, just looking through Hawthorn posts, their fans were so harsh on him. I think it was maybe the Adelaide game. He was like, Worpel got subbed on late, and like fans were like, oh, Worpel lost us the game, like.
Yeah.
Kept trying to run through tackles, get taken down, or not working back defensively and that sort of stuff. So, sort of peaked early in 2019. He won the BNF, and then, heading to Geelong. Raid said in the chat he'll be Geelong's best mid. But, hopefully we can see his career.
Who said that?
Is it Raid? Raid Mazray? Yeah.
I mean, that could be a little bit of a joke. Like, player of other club goes to Geelong, becomes the best mid, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure, but I would have thought Max Holmes, amongst others.
Yeah.
would have had it covered.
Maybe you could make an argument for him that he'd be above Atkins, but I think
Sure,
Atkins is
yeah.
really good at what he does.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So
Atkins is like close to 30, I reckon. He might even be like 31. I'm not sure. I think he's around my age.
Yeah,
but if not, it's like 29 or 30. So
He's certainly older. I do think it's one of those, like, I don't know, cliche, but like people would call it like a money ball move,
yeah,
where you sort of just bring in someone that's not great, but they do a role probably better than the next best that you've got. So I'm going to improve you massively.
Is the role just hands on ball first midfielder?
I believe so.
Okay.
They if there's one area that the Cats struggle, it's that they can light it up from stoppage at times, like from centre bounce and stuff like that, but they do struggle a little bit with territory, and they're more of a ball movement side. Like Smith and Holmes, you don't think about them necessarily as like getting their hands dirty consistently, like someone like a Caleb Sarong. So
Yeah.
I think Warple's like a B grade version of Sarong for you guys. You know what I mean?
Okay. You think of that Geelong midfield who got torched on grand final day? Holmes, great runner. Smith, great runner. Do they have a great kick in there? Is Holmes a decent kick, I'd say? I don't mind Bailey Smith at times, but he's not an elite kick. But I don't know. You look at that Brisbane midfield and you talk about that like top level, like they had so many different looks through there on grand final day. And to get that flag, do Geelong have enough right now? And is adding James Warple going to provide them with that? I mean, they're only a quarter off winning the flag. So
Yeah, I mean, he's a worse disposed. Like he's probably the worst kick of all of those guys. James Warple, he's not going to give you that. I do think that Geelong have they've built their game. They're not necessarily one of those teams that like really builds the ball up and uses their kickers from like the midfield or anything like that, like a Hawthorn or a Brisbane, like they're really high possession, like uncontested mark sort of stuff. Like I feel Geelong want to get you with like power running on the outside.
Yeah. Okay.
And they try to get more so, like less so contested marks inside forward 50. They want to get marks on the lead.
Yeah.
So that means that you don't necessarily, like you're kind of more beating the opposition with running power is what I'm saying. You do need elite kicks, but I feel like their elite kicks come in the half forward flank, like your Grind Myers, your Sean Manor types and stuff like that. Could they use more elite kicks? Like definitely. I think every team could.
Yeah.
And it's always good to be able to go into that mode where you can control the football. But yeah, it's a bit of a game style one for me.
Yeah, a couple of people in the chat shout out Grind Myers. I suppose we were just talking about like the on-ball rotation there with the Cats. We'll move on to some other. We had 3 trade requests to West Coast. I know Destination Club, and everyone's.
Unknown.
Well, you say Destination Unknown. I think West Coast is a little bit more Final Destination these days. But thank you. That was incredible. 3 players have requested trades formally. Brandon Starcevich, Tyler Young. We snatched him from the jaws of North Melbourne, and Devon Robertson. This is the second or third time we've attempted to get Devon Robertson, and we've finally managed to get that trade request. We will do a more Eagles-focused segment a little bit later in this show and talk about where they're at and what they can do. But surface-level thoughts about adding 3 close to best 22 players to their list.
Well, Starcevich instantly improves your defence.
Yeah.
Dev Rob, I don't feel like we've seen... 2023 played a lot of footy, but since then we haven't really seen him enough to know what his best looks like and how much he elevates. And then Young, I actually have not seen play football.
He's probably the one I like the most. Starcevich is the best player, but he's got the concussion issues.
Yeah, that's worrying.
But Tyler Young, at least, is more of a positional need for us. We needed someone to partner Harry Edwards as that like reliable to keep defender set up, and he has when he's played AFL has looked pretty good. Robertson, I don't think is a long-term AFL player, but does he come in and does he improve on a Clay Hall? And could he emulate Jack Graham and be another one in that midfield? It's still better than nothing for the cost.
My issue with Devon Robertson, just to hone in on that one for a second, it's like, we keep talking about West Coast needing that type of player, but it's like, which one are you going to get? So is that the only one of that player that you're going to get? Because you don't need tons of those guys.
Yeah.
He's kind of... I don't 100% know what Devon Robertson is or could be because he hasn't played enough football, but like I see him as probably an inside mid only, right?
Yeah,
I
agreed.
don't think he has a lot of flexibility.
Wasn't
outside.
he a bit of a tagger?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess the
Maybe I'm
question,
making that
what I'm
up.
asking is like we're talking about with the draft, like, do they play that safe bat and take a first possession mid like a Dyson Sharp? There's other players kicking around. We've talked about like Lockie Neal, who's not going. Obviously, Jack Steele's probably on the table. And I feel like every time a player like that comes up, we're like, he could go to West Coast. So where does Devon Robertson fit into that? Like, is he going to come in and be that player, or is he just going to be? Is he going to be doing the same thing at West Coast as he was at Brisbane?
You'd hope not. I mean, like in the VFL, which I know is a different competition, he was at least getting really good numbers in terms of clearance and playing as that extractor type midfielder. I think in the short term, that would like improve West Coast to have that sort of player, even if like longer term, that's not the sort of setup or type of player that's really going to lift us into like finals contention, but it would help us in the next 2 to 3 years. And for the cost, I think it makes sense. I'd imagine he should get the opportunity to get serious on-ball minutes at West Coast. I can't imagine West Coast pushing him out. I think it's a waste if West Coast do that.
Would you still like implore West Coast to go after like a more experienced version of that player, like a Jack Steele or something like that?
Yeah, I would. I would get Robertson and Steele.
So then where does the development fit into that then? If like Robertson and Steele are playing in the same midfield, how do you get minutes into Elijah Hewitt, Harley Reid, and whoever you pick up in the draft?
Well, they've got to be the first names on the team sheet.
Yeah, agreed.
Hewitt, Reid, and then
I think you can fit most of those guys in, to be honest. You can push Graham out to a wing. I think Hoff may just push back into the back line. Baker can play more forward. I think there is a way you can fit all those players in. You certainly wouldn't be taking too much time from Hewitt or Reid, but also at other more successful clubs, these players do their apprenticeship, rather than. Harley's ready to go, and Elijah's probably getting there. But someone like a Dyson Sharp, he doesn't need to play 24 games as a midfielder. If West Coast drafted him, he can potentially, just using him as an example, play a little bit of waffle and develop in there, and then move into the AFL side when he's ready. We don't necessarily need to give him that baptism of fire. With Dyson, he probably is ready-made with using that particular example, but what if it's a Sam Grill?
Yeah.
You give them that time. That's what would happen at Geelong. That's what they did with Jai Clark, admittedly. Jai Clark also hasn't come on like expected. But other clubs are in a position to be slow and steady with these guys. Whereas West Coast, it's a little bit like, okay, just see what you can do.
Yeah, it's always like that with those bottom end clubs. It's kind of, I guess it's just that one thing we've talked about is Dyson Sharp specifically being that ready to go guy. And he probably has of all those guys in the top end, the one thing that you're not getting with him is positional flexibility.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need as much development. So it's kind of, for me, it's like you almost wouldn't pick him with pick 1 or pick 2 if you weren't playing him a fairly large amount of midfield minutes.
I think that's a fair point. Like if West Coast hypothetically got Robertson, Steele, and Sharp, it would get a little bit crowded up in here. But at the same time, then you think, okay, like let them fight for that position, and that's what a successful club would do, is to create that positional competition, which has not existed at West Coast for some time.
It'll just give you so much more flexibility though, and take some of the heat off like your Harley Reids and your Elijah Hewitts, allow them to develop. Like you said, you can move Hoff around, or maybe give Harley Reid more time in the forward line, which, in that first derby he showed you can kick 3 goals and be a real presence down there. So I think true. Adding depth to that midfield is a great move for West Coast. So just
to clarify there, Jesse, you wouldn't, not to go too heavily here on West Coast, you wouldn't change the drafting there?
Not necessarily. I'm also not super locked in on Dyson Sharp. You know what I mean? Like, I think, to see what we can do. I think Steele and Robertson, particularly Steele, for the record, we're speculating about this as though it's a chance. There hasn't really been anything to suggest West Coast are a chance of getting Steele. So we're speaking more hypothetically here. But, I think you try and get Steele in for the leadership aspect. Dev Robertson, because he is probably better than pick 60 in the draft. From that point of view, it's like that makes sense considering the cost. But you don't really deviate from what your original drafting philosophy is, whether that's Dyson Sharp, whether it's Sullivan, Roby, or whoever West Coast pick.
Fascinating time for the West Coast Eagles. Like they have to get those
almost fun,
yeah. But they have to get those little decisions right. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to overexpose youth, but they don't want to underexpose it either. Yeah. No, you make a really good point. We'll move on. We will get back to West Coast at some point in this show. Malcolm Roses Jr. requested to move to Sydney. This was, this is kind of a smaller deal, but Sydney won his services. I think Richmond were pretty up to their necks in it. Connor Butterick chose the Bulldogs over, I think, North and Brisbane. Adelaide have gotten a request from Callum Archie. What do we think about Archie moving? I suppose that one probably has the most juice to it. Where does he fit into that forward line, which has probably a pretty good number of medium to small forward types already? Yeah, watching him on grand final day, he's quite versatile, isn't he, Callum Archie? I remember him intercepting the footy a lot. like just really good in the air. So I don't think he's actually, I probably said a few weeks ago that I didn't exactly see where he fits. He'd still be a good player to bring in as a best 23 player that can give you flexibility. But yeah, I'd say if he does play as that kind of main small forward, it gives him the ability to move Josh Rochelle into the midfield. Isaac Rankin can play some more minutes, and it's just another weapon in there for them that's a little bit different. He's a little bit stronger through the core. He's like a bit more of a tackle breaker as well. But having, as we've seen with Geelong, having these players that are quite flexible can be a real point of difference for you. And I think like they've got Jordan Dawson who can go behind the ball, can push forward as well. Having somebody like Calamachi, it's just a weapon. And they probably got exposed a little bit in finals with some of those
100%.
lower end players, right?
True.
By the time, like I can't remember all of the guys, but Berry struggled a little bit. I think Zach Walker probably struggled a little bit with the moments.
It was like Pedler and there's another guy, Zach Taylor, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was just a few of them in that Adelaide side. I remember like last year when Hawthorn lost to Port in the semi-final, there was just that bottom end of players like you're talking about. So you bring in a 2-time premiership player, Kalachi. I think there's enough room for him at the Crows for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably more an interesting target, but as somebody points out, he's a good defensive forward as well, which is not something that's easy to come by. If they also kick goals.
And they want like big goals in big games. What did he kick in the granny in 24? Like 4 goals?
Kicked 4 goals,
I think he had a big game in the prelim too.
Yeah, I think he had a big final series.
Yeah.
I think he kicked 10 goals across the 4 finals, which is pretty solid
he had a massive
going.
last quarter against Geelong in that prelim last year.
Yeah, I remember that. Like just pops up. He's one of those guys like probably like premiership season to season. Like you don't notice him that much.
Yeah.
But I guess he's just doing his job.
Just seems like, very like a player that a coach can rely upon to get a job done on a dangerous forward whilst also like making them accountable back the other way.
Yeah.
Couple of Gold Coast small forwards you mentioned there. Jesse, Malcolm Roses Jr. I thought you were going to press me on him, but you didn't. And Connor Butterick. Where does that leave the Gold Coast small forward stock?
Well, it was bad and it has gotten weaker again. We knew that they were in the market for a small forward going into this year. Perhaps it's one of those things that the Petracca thing has bobbed up and suddenly it's like, okay, maybe we'll focus on this, and it might have deviated away from their attention. But as far as I know, there's no like linked solution here for the Gold Coast Suns. They might have to draft one.
Well, Butterick played a lot of footy this year and played in the final series. And then they've got that Joe Farah. I can never remember.
Jai Farah or Farah, yeah.
So yeah, that's probably just like a position of need. In preparation for this, I was saying, Malcolm Roses Jr. is going to Sydney, and like he's not a name that jumps off the page, but he was highly favoured under Stewie Dew. Played a lot of footy, averaged 2 goals a game in 2024, or almost 2 goals a game. So he's got some swag about him. Heading to Sydney,
Likes to go camping.
It was a bit of a blindsided one, this one for me. Like I thought he was just guaranteed to go to Richmond.
Butterick.
No, sorry.
Roses Jr.
Roses
sorry.
Jr.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Is that who you were talking about, Drew?
Yeah.
Did I get confused? Yeah. Roses Jr. Like I just thought he was going to end up at Richmond. All of a sudden, at the final hour, ends up at Sydney. So yeah, it's a good move for them.
Got Ben Ainsworth as well, I suppose, the Suns. That's just one I
he's
another player.
He's another player that's been linked away, as has Bailey Humphrey.
Yeah.
And we're going to get on to all the rumours after this, by the way. These are just the confirmed requests and moves.
Yes,
but
sorry about that.
We'll do that. No,
Gold Coast have got to be the most busy side this trade period. It's going to be a massive week and a half for them.
St Kilda, Gold Coast, Melbourne, to some extent West Coast with lower profile deals, but still like a lot going on. It's an interesting time to be alive for those clubs. Yeah, Judd me. Actually, before we get to Fremantle, because there is a trade request, but Brisbane's depth, we know that there's been a lot of positive talk about them getting in Annabelle, Draper and Allen, and that is positive, and I'm sure it's a net positive. But the other side of this is losing 2 premiership players in Starcevic and Calamachi and Devon and Robertson. How do we think that will impact them? I mean, it's not as though they lack depth, but the players that they're bringing in are not necessarily replacing the players that come out. I do wonder if there'll be some sort of positional and structural disruption there.
It's hard to say before we see it materialise, but I feel like players like Calamachi and Brandon Starcevic, they're like the small pieces that make a premiership side, you know what I mean? Just like role players that have been so pivotal Starcevic for a long time has been one of the best sort of medium-sized lockdown defenders in the comp, and we just spoke a lot about Calamachi. Again, it's hard to see, and I probably would say Brisbane are the most likely to do a three-peat next year and win the flag, but could this be just like the first chink in the armour of Brisbane? Because you lose two important players like that, and then you just bring in these like big money guys. I do worry that they are making a mistake here, even though, Starcevic wants big money. Calamachi probably just wants a bit more sort of guarantee as a footballer in this point in his career. So
I'm actually just trying to think of those like dynasty teams like Richmond and Hawthorn and Geelong and even back to the other Brisbane side. Have we seen like mid-dynasty them move their list this much?
Can't think with Richmond.
It stayed pretty... I mean, Hawthorn lost Buddy Franklin.
I think there was at least some deviation around the players who were premiership players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know about players leaving in the same way. But then again, at the same time, like Brisbane's also recruiting some really decent talent.
Yeah.
I think it's just a bit of an underrated thing. Like when teams lose some of these key like role players. I mean, even GWS lost like 7 players last year. That's another example. And then suddenly the floor falls out a little bit. I have a feeling with Brisbane chasing Connor Butterick, I reckon it would have been as a small defender to replace Starcevic. So that is still going to be a bit of a positional need for them. I don't know their depth as well, so I don't know who else could be a small defender in place of Starcevic.
Well, Darcy Wilmot steps up, doesn't he? Even though he's already playing a big role, like he probably gets a bigger
just
role.
about to say, Drew, is like I don't fully agree with you that they have to be worried about this. I mean, obviously it's like hard to be worried when you've just won 2 flags anyway, but you probably should have a mentality that this is going to happen and clubs are going to come in for your premiership players and probably pay overs for them.
Yeah.
A little bit in the likes of Archie and these guys. You've got to be like next man up. And Brisbane, because they're so young, I think they're going to get so much natural improvement out of those younger players anyway. Like think about what Levi Ashcroft's going to do next year. Ty Gallup, Sam Marshall, these kind of guys can probably step up as well.
Yeah.
I think where it could go wrong for them potentially is like you're bringing in players with maybe like a little bit bigger personality, like Sam Draper. And he's a really different sort of a ruckman for them. And so it's like fundamentally like how is that going to gel? Could they get off to a slow start and then be chasing finals again? They haven't been the best home and away side as it is.
Yep.
Like when they're
Last couple years.
Yeah, they're trying to gel together with Draper as the number 1 ruck. Allen's a different type of forward, isn't he? So it's going to change their structure up forward as well. Like this year I think they were really brave with like bringing in Gallup for a day, even though they wanted that. I guess like Oscar Allen's going to play that day role, but yeah, it's going to be a very different look, and they're going to have to like get better pretty quickly off a short preseason.
Completely changes the dynamic. Well said. Fart Explosion says it won't impact them. Neil, Cameron, and Dunkley played with 5 arms and 4 legs between them, so pretty confident that the Lions will be all right.
Yeah,
I'm sure they would be. It's also like a good philosophy that when you're at the top, you do kind of keep trying to reinvigorate and stay the best and be ahead of the competition. And like Starcevic leaving, like if 2 flags in a row doesn't keep him, not much will. So there's not too much closure missing there, I would have thought. Judd McVie requests trade to Fremantle. Yes. I suppose quickly we'll just say what is your reaction to this? And I know this is a player you've rated for some time.
Yeah, spent his first year in the VFL, won a flag with Casey. And then ever since, he's pretty much been a mainstay in that D side. Started as a lockdown defender. His main sort of reason that's been coming out why he wants to leave is to get higher up the ground. So I feel like the Ds might have been playing him as that sort of like real lockdown. Sort of first name that comes to mind is like Quainer type, like real deep lockdown defender. And he wants to get higher up the ground and maybe play on the halfback flank. Probably plays a similar role to like a Carl Warner at Freo at the moment, or a Jordan Clark type. I'd like to see him push up to the wing because that's a position of need for us. But no, really happy with the move. I think he's a really composed player with the ball in hand, real high IQ player who has a good kick on him. He played a little bit of midfield time for the Ds. I know your name's Judd, but you're probably not going to break into that midfield at Freo for a while at least. There's a line
more
there.
Ashley Judd.
Just his time. I watched him a little bit later in the season when he did move into the midfield a little bit, and he was definitely, he finds the footy pretty well. Like he was a little bit nervous on the ball in the midfield role.
Okay.
Yeah, like his kicking and decision making was a lot more rushed, which you'd expected it to be in the middle of the ground. So it'll be interesting how over the next couple of years that develops. But you're probably right. Like as far as a needs perspective, he either fits like as a halfback still for you guys.
Yeah.
He's not walking into a team that's like infinitely worse where he just walks into the midfield, is he?
Yeah. And I'm just thinking that position of like, because we need to transition the ball better. But I don't really think that comes from lack of players that are able to do that. I think it's more of a coaching and a belief thing. Because we've got like Cooper Simpson, who's a great ball user, who's played a lot of halfback in the Waffle and then had an injury interrupted year. As for a lockdown defender, Brandon Walker, who was best 22 for a few years before going down with injury as well. So bit of depth. I'd like to see him play on the wing. But yeah, happy to see that materialize. What are we talking in terms of currency, do you reckon? Sort of late second round pick?
Oh, I would have thought a first rounder, but not like top 10.
You said late second.
Yeah,
second for Judd?
No, it's not going to get it done.
He's a first round draft.
First round?
Yeah, I reckon. Late first.
Yeah, late first is probably about right. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess he's a very talented young guy.
Yeah.
That being said, what a Freo have? Like, I think the first pick's like 11. That's probably a little too early.
Yeah.
What are we talking? What were we talking about with Buderick for the for?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know if that was been reported on. I would have thought quite late though.
Yeah, because I was going to say like, what were people talking about with him? Because McVee's a considerably better.
Yeah.
prospect
No,
than
Buderick, he'd be like second or third rounder. I would have thought.
David Wall was our list manager. Said we're going to try to move up the draft order. So maybe that's in an effort to send some picks the D's way. And yeah, the D's are going to be very busy this trade period.
Yeah, or just package him with like say a second rounder with Luke Jackson to get Judd McVee in.
Yeah,
we have just received a
good one.
Very tasty super chat here from Grittio again.
Thank
Another
you, mate.
one from him. Brilliant stuff from you. $5. With Draper and Allen coming into Brizzy, should teams that need a leading ruckman be looking at Henry Smith?
I don't know too much about Henry Smith. I'm going to be completely honest, but it kind of makes sense that there's always a ruck merry-go-round, isn't there? One player I was kind of interested in at Brisbane was Kalen Lane, but I think he did an ACL, and I actually don't even 100% know if he's still on the list now I think about it. Let me double-check that.
I'm gonna agree with you there, though, on Henry Smith. Don't know enough about him. Grittio is a big Crows fan. Obviously asked the question about Mitch Stevens earlier, and they are a club that absolutely needs a ruckman. They need someone coming through so badly. I assume this year they'll probably look to like a later pick in the draft for someone that they can kind of develop. Like there's a guy, Zach Harding from Vic Country. I'm sure they'll look at someone like him, and he's a little bit older. Like I think he's like 05 born. He's still quite young, but I think you can do a lot with rucks, can't you? Like trading for those secondary rucks at clubs, like Hawthorn obviously did with Lloyd Meek. Those types of players. Ned Moyle, like he's just the one.
Yeah.
Someone's got to get their hand. I want to see this guy play.
He just wants to play in the VFL behind Jared Witz. I mean, Jared Witz, I think he's like 33. So maybe there's some sort of succession plan that they've got around the corner, but still.
Like surely, how old is he now? He's like 24.
Yeah, probably. Something like that. I don't know.
You're ready to play AFL.
Yeah.
I don't know like what they're telling him and just saying like, yeah, it's good for your development. Like ruckman don't peak. Like,
just quickly
23.
on that Brisbane point as well. How good has the chemistry been between Fort and McInerney over the last couple of years? Like they've perfectly complemented each other. Maybe Draper's a better player and is a bit more dynamic, but yeah, like we said, it's gonna shift the
That's
dynamic.
what I was kind of talking about before, because you're not going to get. I feel Draper, he doesn't like. He's not going to bring the mids into it as much, and that's one of the things. Like Brisbane's midfield, like their technical ability is what sets them apart. And Draper's going to be a bit more bash and crash and all over the place.
Yeah.
A bit more sort of chaotic. I don't know if it's going to suit them.
Back to McVee. Trev Wilmot thinks he's overrated. Can't hit a target. Doesn't really defend that well. And then Matt McCann chimes in with Druzy has got rocks in his head. Late second. Ha ha ha. Well, my logic there is we lost Blake Acres for I think it was like a second round pick or
McVee's
a third
a
round
lot
pick.
better than
McVee's
Blake
younger
Acres.
and better.
Blake Acres was great. But
Akers had like a really good season at Fremantle
older,
and was a pretty underwhelming player with all due respect before that.
Yeah.
So those are all factors. When McVee's sort of gradually improved, and I don't think he's going to be like an all-Australian caliber, but like I wouldn't say it's out of the question. Like he is talented.
Yeah.
Probably not
What did you
quite
get for
that.
Akers, did you say?
I think it was a third round now. We got ripped, and yeah, he had a good couple seasons for Carlton there when they won that imaginary flag. Retirement rumors around the Big O. And Glizzy Hand says Draper is a better forward than both of those. So
That's true.
Pixel says Draper's best trait is his influence on team culture. I don't really think they need much help with the culture right now at the Lions. I think they're going pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I see chinks. Charlie Spargo has formalised a move to the Melbourne Footy Club. You're a North fan, Dylan, so tell us how excited you are.
We've already done this.
I know, I keep
talking
beating
about this again.
But it's been formalised.
I will say, I said to you guys when you walked in, I was having a look at his like numbers and stuff during the week, and I noticed that the thing that jumped out at me that I was surprised by was his age. I thought he was considerable. I feel like he's been around for a lot longer than being 26.
Right, yeah.
I thought he was at least 28, 29. So I got a little bit of a surprise by that, but it doesn't make me any happier about the move. I guess it's fair enough. It's not as if North are trying to sell this as like a marquee signing. It is what it is, right? You're kind of bringing in, you're an experienced player, you've won premierships. They're trying to do that model that other clubs have done where they bring in the experienced sort of superstars like Luke Parker type players. They've tried to bring in just the status of the club, North Melbourne. We can't go after very good players. So we're just bringing in any premiership players that we can find, I assume is the deal here.
He's from a successful operation. Obviously, it hasn't gone well lately, but he played in a good team and in an age bracket where you don't have a lot of players, I would have thought.
Yeah, and there is some like role there for him, as Druzy likes to say, that connection piece.
He's a great connect.
The connection piece inside forward 50. But I think if you look at the players that play this, where I come from it, what I'm sort of trying to say here is you look at the best players in the competition that play that role, your Brian Myers, your Dylan Moores, those types. Like
Murphy Reeds.
Yeah, Murphy Reed. Murphy Reed probably counts. He doesn't have a full complement of the attributes of those guys. I think he's from when that role, that sort of high forward that got up to stoppage was first coming in. I think he was pretty good at that, but he's limited with what he can do.
What do you think he's limited in?
Mainly speed.
I thought he's pretty quick. Is he not?
I would say mainly speed.
I reckon he's got a bit of speed about him. I think.
He's not like slow.
He's not rapid. He's not Cyril Rioli pace. He's not Jetta pace, but I think he is pretty fast.
And comparing him to like a Brian Myers, for example, or a Dylan Moore, like he's not as good a kick. So he's from that Melbourne system, which is very much like a territory-based system. Yeah. It's sort of like just get it forward, get it into the forward line, and then we go again. Mm-hmm. So I think he'll probably be solid. Like he'll be okay. I don't think and he'll get into the team, for example. But yeah, like he's not changing much for us. And I would have liked to have seen us take players like that a little bit higher in the draft, as opposed to have gone for a Spargo.
Bubble.
Jacob Ware has formally moved to Port Adelaide, I think, as a delisted free agent. Not too much to say about that. 27-year-old, I think he is, from GWS. And we'll move to probably the biggest one we've saved to the last. Christian Petracca has requested a trade to the Gold Coast Suns. This probably should have been ranked a little bit higher in this segment, but that's all right. Keep them, reel them in.
I thought you were supposed to start strong.
Yeah, no, never. That is not my philosophy. So Christian Petracca, after a tumultuous week of news, we knew like this time last week that Petracca leaving was probably quite possible. And I would say 24 to 36 hours ago, my understanding was it was more likely to be Adelaide. He flew to Adelaide to meet with the Crows. Then he flew to the Gold Coast Suns like a day later to meet with the Gold Coast Suns and has ultimately decided to request a trade to them. I think this probably makes sense, even just like going straight to the part where how does a deal get done? Gold Coast probably is the team because they've got a lot of players going out. But I suppose to start off with, if you're in Petracca's shoes, which club would you rather have joined?
Yeah, Gold Coast. They are probably one of the bigger destination clubs in terms of most exciting projects to join in footy right now. I feel like a lot of Crows fans didn't want Petracca because I think they've sort of been burnt by like the moves for like Gibbs and I can't really think of any other ones, but like signing like like highly touted players and then they've sort of gone to crap. But would you say Gold Coast as well, Dill? Would you rather play for Gold Coast?
I'd absolutely rather play for Gold Coast. I know there was kind of the innuendo that he suggested to Adelaide that he wanted a better contract, and that was kind of the sticking point. But it feels like if you're Christian Petracca, just everything it didn't feel like it made sense for him to go to Adelaide. Like even commercially for like what he does either. Like the Gold Coast just seems to fit, make more sense.
Does he instantly become the biggest star at the Suns? Probably. Is he
like
the highest profile player they've had since Gablet?
Yeah,
Probably,
I suppose he probably is.
Yeah,
I feel like
definitely.
from a performance point of view, like purely on field, I think it's Rowell and Anderson are better footballers than he is now.
Yes.
But yeah, certainly from a star power perspective.
Yeah. With that cooking show.
Did you see? Well, he's got a holiday house up in Noosa, which is another factor in this, I suppose.
Luke M says his in-laws are from the Sunshine Coast.
There you go. So he's got links up there.
Yeah.
Did you see the comment that he made like in 2022? He was like, we need more fans going to these games. There's only 30,000 at the MCG and they're not getting us up and about. And it's like, you're moving to Gold Coast, mate. They literally play crowd noise to build an atmosphere up there. So if you live in the Gold Coast, go and watch one of the most exciting sides in the AFL because
I do
shit's
think
gonna be popping there.
Christian Petracca would have learnt a fair bit from last year's trade period. I think there was probably an element after the injury and everything where he sort of went like he didn't understand that if he said like I wanted to go to a big Melbourne club and he probably just thought because he was Christian Petracca that it could get done.
Yeah.
And I think 12 months later he's like I'm not going to be out there. That's not going to happen. But I don't think as far as with that money sticking point from Adelaide, like I don't think he was ever going to take that. Is there a world where he's kind of pushed back on Adelaide because he thought it could have raised his potential contract at the Gold Coast as well? Do you think?
In my mind, I think he would have preferred to go up to Gold Coast, and he's like, let's just see if Adelaide will give me a more juicy offer, another $1.5 million or whatever.
Just like what I mean is, like he says that to Adelaide. If Adelaide then say yes, do you think he just goes to
power at Gold Coast?
And then he sort of says to Adelaide, well, like they've offered me, like he's almost like trying to turn it into a bidding war potentially.
Yeah.
Well, so to be clear on Petracca's deal, it goes to the end of 2029. It peaks at 1.7 mil and then doesn't fall below 1.2 mil. What has been reported by Theo Geropoulos, former cricketer, says Petracca asked the Crows for an extra year on top of his 4-year contract and increased money across the entire deal. So like really tried to milk that. Fair enough. Power to him. It's unclear whether he did the same thing to the Gold Coast Suns. We don't know if he priced Adelaide out on purpose or if he offered both of those deals to Gold Coast and Adelaide and one rejected. Adelaide didn't want to be paying him. I think he would have been Adelaide's most paid player at the age of 35. So you can understand why they walked away from it. But it's unclear whether he did that to the Gold Coast Suns and they accepted it or, he just priced Adelaide out.
Interesting.
The flow-on effect from this, and we'll talk a little bit later about how Melbourne get these deals done and how Gold Coast get them done. Perhaps the better question. But I think the flow-on effect from this is Curnow to Gold Coast is now off. Yeah. So, Geelong probably going to give up pick 18 and 38 or pick 18 for Rowan Marshall and then have nothing left for Curnow and still get him somehow. But it looks like, according to Sam Edmund, he says put a line through Curnow and Gold Coast. You'd think with, rumours of Ugle-Hagan also getting there, Petracca. They're still probably the only club that can get it done though.
I know. Like they can probably still do it.
Like if they lose Humphrey and Flanders and that.
My question is for the Gold Coast specifically, what do you think is a better need for them? Petracca and Ugle-Hagan or Curnow?
I'd really like the fit of Petracca in that Gold Coast side. Like they've got Anderson who can sort of do it all. But yeah, if I think of prime Petracca, he's and you got Rowell. They're so stacked, but I don't know. I just think he complements it very well with, his ability to go forward as a midfielder. I don't think Rowell or Anderson really do that. Miller has, but it's more that sort of high half forward midfield rotation.
Devil's advocate though, you've got Bailey Humphrey.
You've got Bailey Humphrey.
You've got Jake Rogers. You've got Leo Lombard.
Yeah. God, they're so stacked.
They're
it's
so
ridiculous.
stacked. Like Leo Lombard is that forward mid as well.
Yeah. True.
So like Petracca right now is obviously better than those guys. But, as you're building the club, like in 2-3 years, Leo Lombard could be doing what Bailey Humphrey did this year in the finals. You know what I mean?
Petracca could also evolve into just like a full-time forward, that Dangerfield trajectory.
Yeah, and I think he'd be really important in finals for them now that they're starting to push.
Spare thought for guys like Ned Moyle, Alex Davies, who still fall further and further behind the pecking order and just like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to stay on the Gold Coast Suns. I'm going to play my VFL. I'm going to watch us win a flag from the stands, the Devon Robertson model, And apparently, like, obviously, what I'm saying is there's a cultural endorsement there for the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Traits.
That's an interesting one. But I feel like for right now, Curnow would actually move the needle more.
Yeah, probably in terms of adding them something that they don't have.
Yeah.
But I think the 1-2 punch, assuming that Ugle-Hagan has his head on straight and when he gets up to the Gold Coast Suns, I'd probably take the 2 players over the 1.
Yeah.
That's a big risk though, isn't it? The Ugle-Hagan move.
Yeah.
You love him, don't you?
I'm a big fan of him as a footballer. Big
Yeah.
fan. I actually saw him walking through Hawthorn the other day, just crossing Glenferrie Road. So he wasn't up in the Gold Coast for too long because the day before was the news that he was flying up to the Gold Coast, and then the day after he was getting a Yochi in Glenferrie Road.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, clearly doesn't have a dietitian.
I just don't think he's put it together like as a footballer either. I think it's just all sort of.
What do you mean he hasn't put it together as a footballer?
I just think it's all at this point.
Well, he
like
hasn't arrived.
Yeah, like it's just ambiguous talent.
He did arrive.
He kicked like 35 goals once.
Can you
Let me
remember-
double check that.
Can
I
you
might not be
remember
right.
when he copped all that like racism in 2023 and he like kicked 5 and like pulled
Yeah.
up his jumper and like that felt like Jamari Ugle-Hagan was arriving.
Yeah, but I mean, has Harley Reid arrived?
Yeah,
He's had some
He's
big
had
games.
Yeah, he has.
But I think that's the same as Jamara. Like,
Yeah, obviously
that's the
further along.
racism thing's like a different story. But yeah, I just don't feel like he's actually.
The talent has been shown, the consistency maybe not. If he can get a good mentor up there, and maybe it's literally just Damien Hardwick, just a boss that he has to, I don't know.
I think if you peak it, I mean, and this is great for his age, but in his first 4 seasons, like he kicked 7, 18, then 35, then 43. I wouldn't have described that. I mean, it's semantics, but I wouldn't describe that as arriving. It's not as though like Curnow he's won 2 Colemans, you know what I mean? Like a player who's all Australian caliber has arrived. I think Ugle-Hagan could get there, but I wouldn't say he's arrived yet.
He's like 2 stops away, but he got off at the wrong station and he's
Yeah.
got to wait a little bit.
Yeah, then he accidentally got on the wrong train further away from his destination for a little while here, but Gold Coast have bought him a ticket.
And he's missed an entire year of football. So like all of the stats, we're assuming that that's like a natural trajectory. He's now missed a year of football.
Yeah.
All the distractions of this season. Like I don't know. I never thought that he played football in like an unconditional way. So I think it's risky for the Gold Coast Suns. I don't think they necessarily, like them of all clubs, don't need to absorb that risk.
I suppose you're right.
I rate it for Gold Coast. Give him a chance.
So I'm going to go to the bathroom. Do you guys want to either
We
keep
can
talking or
meander
just
with
talk
comments
to
and
the
then
chat?
we'll get
We've got
into
lots
some
of
more
comments,
speculation.
actually.
Yeah, the chat's been great, and then we'll move on to some more trade speculation.
You got this, Drews.
All right, let's look in the comments. Should Essendon be chasing Sean Darcy or potentially Rowan Marshall? Well, he's going to go to Geelong Marshall. Have we got this in the I don't think we have this in the speculation, so we can talk about it now. I think the Darcy to Essendon will make sense in terms of we want Jackson in the ruck more. Essendon need a ruck, and give us some picks, please.
He definitely works. I know Essendon fans came back when we brought that up last week and talking about Nick Bryan, but I don't think Nick Bryan, like we don't know if he's going to be a number 1 ruck.
And you never trust a man with 2 first names.
Exactly. 100%.
Dylan Alexander.
That's my middle name, technically.
Don't tell them yet.
He works though, doesn't he? I think
Yeah.
with the game plan that they want to play long term, which I think is like revolving around centre bounce, he's really strong in that area. You talked about that with he and Jackson both like coexisting in the Freo team, that Darcy gives you that tap work, right?
Yeah.
So
And when he was solo ruck, he was BNF. So
yeah,
BNF's my buzzword of the day.
absolutely. It is interesting though, like with all of the changes happening. I know like we've discussed this a little bit with the ruck rules and stuff. There is a little bit of a flip happening at the moment, going back to this more. I think they're getting rid of the block in some sense. I don't know the exact, details of that, but essentially it's going to be more of that like run and jump at the ball. They've taken away the bounce as well. So they're trying to bring back in like the art of tap work, which they think is gone in the last couple of years. So I don't know what that's going to do, exactly how it looks, but the Tristan Sherry, the Lloyd Meek, the Sean Darcy, big dog kind of guy. I'm not sure if they excel as much as they have in the last couple of years.
Are they going to bring that in? Because they've just introduced 2 rule changes with the centre bounce going and the sub rule. So does that mean that
I think it's already been announced.
the run and jump?
The run and jump.
Oh,
So that is
Great.
that is happening.
Get Sean Darcy out of there.
Yeah, well, exactly.
rid.
So, like, I don't know if Essendon are looking at a ruckman like that in the same way that they were 12 months ago.
Sorry. I was just going to go. Matt McCann said, forget Petrarca. Robbie Fox to the Tassie Devil VFL team is the biggest news of the week. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. But
Robbie Fox?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was today.
Today?
Yep.
Robbie Fox is a weird one. It's like he was playing in a grand final this time last year, and then he just conceded VFL. Like, surely he could have found a spot on an AFL
It's funny,
list.
isn't it? And he was their best player in that 2022, I think it was. The 2022 grand final.
Sorry, I've just picked up on something smelly.
No, is that what you're laughing at? No.
Yes.
No, I was laughing at something else.
Robbie Fox, best on ground in one of those grand finals. I can't remember which one it was. Do you agree?
22 when they got slaughtered by Geelong?
I think so.
I
What are
think
you
so.
giggling at?
I'm not.
I thought you were giggling when you came back.
We made eye contact.
I think
and
I'm
it
going to
was
go to the bathroom as well.
Okay, yeah.
I'll leave you guys in this bad smell.
And Dylan
so-
walked straight into it.
Finally, we're alone. Yeah. What's the chat saying?
There was a question about. We're going to get into the trade speculation once Dylan's back because there's a lot of rumours and that type of thing. There has been a few comments about Jai Sarong and Reef Luke with a dono. Big
Wow.
fan from Dampier.
Hey, Western
Dampier.
Australia, somewhat local to where we're from,
Couldn't be further local from where.
but still
where
in the
I'm from.
same state.
I went to Dampier in 2022.
Oh, yeah?
Good footy
That's
ground
right.
there on the water. Good couple pubs. You got the Red Dog there, and not a lot else. So big up to Reef Luke. Wanting to ask about what you think of the draft Packy Tassie has been promised in their first few years and the impact that it will have on other rebuilding sides. Thank you for the donation. We're going to get into that as like a full topic, but what are your cliff notes?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It is part of our segment today, and Dylan's done some really good prep outlining it for us, so we'll talk about it. It seems to be quite a bit more than, well, I'd say it's the most generous expansion sort of rules we've seen for a new club. And it's definitely quite clearly geared more towards being competitive early. And then the good thing about that is while the drafts will be compromised, it will provide clubs opportunities to get back into those drafts that are otherwise going to be compromised by Tasmania. So maybe it's not the end of the world to be rebuilding through this era, which is good. It is also mindful of the clubs that are going to be struggling over the next few and trying to rebuild their lists.
I just caught Dylan tripping over in the back. Nice. It looks like a trip. Let's we get some playback on that.
Yeah, action replay. Thank you so much for being here, everyone, on this Saturday morning here in Melbourne, and depending on where you are, unless you're from New Zealand.
Actually, I'm camo.
Oh yeah, green
You are.
screen to the
green-
background.
yeah.
If you could chuck a like on the stream, that would really help us out algorithmically. And thank you so much once again for our donations. It's really very generous.
I wonder who the best footballer to come out of Dampier is. Matt McCann said Dean Cox at Dampier Shark. I think
he'd be close then, surely.
I think Bo McDonald played there at least for a little bit, from what I can remember.
Oh, we got a super chat.
Yeah, the donations today have
Around
been
the table.
really appreciated. So yeah, get in the comments where you guys are watching this from as well. Raid says this is a great podcast to listen to when pooing, which is
It's a great one to film while
Agree.
pooing.
Yeah.
the maiden
And that's
poo.
where the smell came from.
Yeah. Oh, did it? Did it really?
Came full circle. No,
Sick.
no, you freak.
Why am I the freak? I haven't moved.
I'll just clarify. Jesse did not poo.
Yeah.
Where
thank
did the
you.
smell thing come from?
I don't know.
I thought you shat.
No, I didn't.
Alright.
I didn't know what was going on there.
Footy from the flat. You don't get this.
Yeah, you don't get this on
football show.
SEN.
Okay, I'm going to tinkle because this next segment's going to be large. So
Yeah, all right.
keep going, and
Keep
then we'll
going.
get into the speculation.
Stick
All right.
around. Stick around.
Yeah.
We've already read that comment from Campbell Holtham about Sean Darcy. I just mentioned, Jesse, some of the changes to the ruck rules that are sort of like, I don't know, they're going back and forwards a lot, but we're going back to the jump, the more athletic ruckman, which does somewhat remove Sean Darcy, I think, from the equation. Like, I don't know if you're chasing a ruckman like that.
Bailey Williams, come on down. This is your time to shine.
It's your time to
He's
shine.
pretty much only good at the run and jump.
Yeah.
But anyway, that will be an interesting impact. On the Sean Darcy thing, we got some heat last week because that was one of the rare stories that we break. It might be one of the only stories we've ever broken.
Yeah, it was like
if you want to call it that.
So was that more of like a rumor thing, or is it?
I never actually told you how we know that. I'll tell you later. But there was some inside information. Obviously, nothing is locked away. Like things could change, but that is the way it sounds like it's going to go. But I laughed at one of the comments was like, "You clearly got this from Big Footy," and I was like, "Mate, when I rip things off Big Footy, I tell you." Yeah. I always put a disclaimer. If I read something on Big Footy, I say, so I got this from Big Footy, so take it with a grain of salt. This was not from Big Footy. I didn't actually know it was on Big Footy. So there you go. There's a bit of smoke. Is there fire? I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It makes sense. They definitely, I think Essendon probably need a first choice ruckman. Delisted Goldstein.
Yep.
That's happened.
Yep.
They've got Nick Bryan sitting there, but they probably need somebody else. They do have Blackiston as a bit of a backup ruck too, who's playing backline at the moment, but they do probably need a bit of an A grader, and Sean Darcy could be that, albeit those rules changing probably does change that a little bit. Pixel says Humphrey needs a tank. Once he builds that, he'll go to another level. I don't know if he does need a tank. Can he just not be this?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I suppose to spend more time genuinely in the midfield. But I think, over time, someone like a De Goey or even Petracca, it took him a few years to be a genuine midfield rotation. He'll probably get there. Yeah. Whether he is primarily a forward who impacts through the midfield or vice versa is unclear, but he could be a very good sort of medium-sized forward.
Absolutely. I just think sometimes that type of player, they don't have to turn into... You wouldn't want him... What I'm saying is you wouldn't want him to lose the attributes that he has from a power perspective to give it to endurance necessarily, because he might be robbing Peter to pay Paul. I feel like we've used
That's
that
true, as he says all the time. Yeah.
That was Jesse's he said it once on a recording a long time ago.
And I think you hadn't heard it.
And I hadn't heard it. And I was like, what did you just say? He's like, robbing Peter to pay Paul. And he said it so fast and I was like, wow.
Is that from the Bible?
A good question. It could be. It could be, but it's a saying.
Just the names. I'm getting Bible vibes. But
robbing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it might just be a saying.
Yeah.
It says, hang on, I need to find this out. Although legend has it that this expression alludes to something about St. Peter's Church in Westminster, London.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
First appeared in a work by John Wycliffe in 1382. That makes sense. I'm born in 93, which is closer to 1382. So that's why I know the saying.
Trade speculation.
Glad we cleared that up. It was somewhat biblical.
Yeah. I was trying to think of how to segue that.
We probably need to get back on track here.
Yeah. So we have discussed the confirmed trade requests. And in this segment, I want to discuss the speculation. That's how I've organised these discussions. So we'll keep on the Demons train here because we've discussed Petracca. Let's talk about Clayton Oliver. This story was interesting, not because it's surprising. It's not, but I thought the way it played out was kind of strange. So Oliver was informed by the club in a fiery 12-minute meeting. I like how they know the exact duration of it. At 10 a.m., I think it was yesterday or the day before, as we record this, that he was no longer seen as a first-team player by Stephen King, and that if he was to stay, it would likely to see him play in the VFL and certainly not in the midfield. The 28-year-old was reportedly left shattered when implored to explore his options because he was understood to have been excited for a fresh start under Stephen King. So Stephen King's obviously come into this meeting pretty hot. I'd imagine he'd have his own views of Oliver as a player, but I'd imagine he was armed by those around him, what it's really been like to have Clayton Oliver on the list and the influence he's been having. Now, I'm just reading into that a little bit too much, perhaps. I guess we'll start there before we get to the clubs he's linked to. What are your thoughts on Stephen King coming in like a knife through butter?
Well, the 12-minute meeting just shows you that it would have been quite a tense interaction, right?
Yeah, they were armed to the gills going into this.
12-minute meeting does not sound chill.
No, especially when it's Clayton Oliver.
True.
From what I can gather on Oliver, ever since, he had that rough off-season a couple years ago, but ever since he's really applied himself. He's always doing extras at the club, after training. He's always first there, last to leave type thing. Had a pretty underwhelming 2024 season, particularly with his composure and disposal, something that I really picked up on. And then he's going on holiday at the airport. Mitch Cleary caught him. Did you see that?
Yes.
And he was like so many expletives I can't say because it'll demonetize the video. But
he just wouldn't stop.
Calling him every name under the sun.
Yeah.
Clayton Oliver, I think, is going to America. Which is an interesting time to go when your career is up in the air. Like, why would you go to the other side of the planet when you need to find another job? Well, he's got the security of another year at least.
You'd think an America trip would have been booked months ago. So he's probably always planned for this, and then he gets told to look around.
Yeah.
So
he didn't like get out of the meeting.
Yeah.
Get on the Skyscanner.
I'm going to Kansas.
I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Famously the coolest name.
One of the
true.
bigger like fallings from grace that we've seen, as far as like an already established gun player.
I feel bad for him.
Could have been a Norm Smith medalist, a premiership player at the D's. Was one of the best players in the competition. We've talked a lot about it on this show, the reasons for why he's probably declined. Some of it's off field, other probably like little changes in the game that don't suit that player as much. Is it the right decision from Stephen King to do this, to come in and make these cultural changes?
I think so. I absolutely think so. I think the writing was on the wall last year with the D's, that they were on a decline. New coach comes in. He's like, I just want a full factory reset this. Get some capital in for May, Petracca, Oliver, who, had that full build, had that premiership, had that window, and then they sort of dipped out of it. So I think it's a good thing. They got the success, they got their fairy tale finish, and I think it's a good time to move all these guys on.
Do you think, Jesse, that it changes anything given the fact that all three of these guys on some level, if they had have moved them out 12 months ago, the compensation would have been significantly higher?
Yeah, I think Oliver will get them very little, to be honest. Petracca, it could actually still be very lucrative for them if it ends up in a player like a Bailey Humphrey, which we'll discuss next. So that remains to be seen. I suppose you're right. I guess I support a club that has been slaughtered for like holding on too long to a premiership team, and I still defiantly think like I kind of support my team having another swing when we thought we had another chance, because those teams, those premiership quality teams, are so hard to build for. I can understand why they hung on for a little bit longer. Obviously, it didn't work out, but for me, I don't think it matters too much. And in contrast to West Coast, I think Melbourne still can rectify it somewhat. New coach, new approach. It's really interesting.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it, really? You still had Simon Goodwin last year. You've now got a different guy who's come from that Geelong system.
Yeah.
And I feel like even the players that we're looking at, particularly Oliver here, but it probably, if you look at how the Geelong midfield operates, Oliver's a different sort of a player. He's a different guy. They want to build probably a little bit more of that run and carry game that Melbourne have lacked over the last few seasons.
Absolutely. Now, I want to tell you what I thought was weird about this. Because about 2 hours after this meeting happened, GWS put up a very cryptic photo of a game where Melbourne played GWS, and at the end of the game, Darcy Jones is like high five. No, Toby Bedford. I guess you can't remember. I think it might have been Bedford.
No, it's Bedford because he's a Melbourne player.
Of course, yeah. Toby Bedford high fives, and there's like holding hands sort of in the image with Clayton Oliver, and there was no caption. And it was as soon as the story broke that Melbourne had parted ways with Clayton Oliver, GWS put this post up, which implies that there was previous interest in Clayton Oliver.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never seen that before. Like, the timing of it is weird. If that all happened that morning, how did GWS have the social media guy all over it, or girl?
The GWS social media team is definitely the most like raunchy out of all the clubs.
Yeah, it's Jacob Gaynor.
I actually wouldn't take any, like, as far as from like how, I don't know, graphic it was. I wouldn't take anything from that. As far as like he would sort of go to any lengths.
Yeah, to get clicks.
To get that click, I suppose. So like I wouldn't take that into it. They're kind of the best in the business really in the AFL.
You're right. It could be coincidence, but then after that, it was announced or reported by Tom Morris, GWS are all in on Clayton Oliver. So it was.
So there were there was smoke.
Yes, there was fire. There was there was fire, and that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. How do they get like the clearance to like post it? I don't know.
It could have just been a coincidence.
It could have
been
been
like Clayton Oliver's popping right now. And then, this
I
is actually...
You might be right. What I meant on the social media piece is they seem to have a relationship with the club, the social media team, where there is like almost not a disconnection, but he's allowed to do whatever he wants.
He's got free reign on
and it's because of like where their club is based, like being in the west of Sydney in a non-AFL like geography, basically. The club gives that to them. Like we want you to like drum up business for us, basically. We want the sport to be more popular. We want the club to be popular.
We got some breaking news.
Do we?
Finn McRae has met or is set to meet with the Eagles.
Rogue Riot will fucking love that. Or hate that, actually.
Finn McRae.
Oh, that's so funny. Wow, where does that come from?
Sam Edmund.
Yeah, right. Huge news. Well, this is, I guess, I don't know if we want to segue too much from here, but like that just ties into everything we just said. Finley McRae, probably another one of those Devon Robertson type midfielders.
I reckon you're going too hard.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, let's eliminate Steele because there's nothing really suggesting that's happening.
Right.
We talked about Steele was hypothetical. We know Robertson will probably happen, so it's Robertson and McRae. Don't forget, on West Coast, they've been given 4 extra rookie list spots.
Yes.
And they were going to be targeting state level players. We'll talk about West Coast in more depth when that segment comes up. But that's an interesting one. Finley McRae. It would be a delisted free agent. He has been delisted by Collingwood.
Oh, he got delisted.
Yeah.
That's funny because Collingwood fans are really hot on him. And I suppose there's a lot more noise when, you play for Collingwood.
Yeah. We have some more breaking news as I see.
More breaking news!
Oh, I actually hadn't seen this story. Flanders has chosen St Kilda.
I always forget to do this, but like I should have Twitter.
Yeah.
Just on the side for this kind of thing.
On the trade period stuff.
Yeah.
Probably would have. Yeah. Now that's a formal trade request. I guess we'll segue back into that shortly. We'll quickly wrap up this Clayton Oliver story. Melbourne, I think, are willing to pay half of his salary at GWS. So this is according to Tom Morris. And according to Morris, it is very early, but the Giants want another player to help their clearance game. I think that makes perfect sense. And they believe it's $600,000 to $700,000 a year is a bargain for a player of Clayton Oliver's quality. Do you agree with that? And furthermore, do you think there's any other teams that make sense?
All I can think of is how orange Clayton Oliver was.
True.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, it's
so
a clash.
Good. I actually don't like. This is going to sound weird a little bit, but like and I'm not just saying this because they're both ginger, but him and Tom Green are incredibly similar players, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just the way that they play the game as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tunes there, Drew.
You just clicked on a video called The Property Couch. Property, finance, and money.
Oh,
I've lost the stream.
We're doing business here.
He's lost the stream. Yeah, they're incredibly similar players. I would say the thing that would fix their clearance game is getting a new ruckman. Like Briggsy just did not bring it in 2025.
Come on, Briggsy.
I reckon they've got Callahan, obviously. Bedford's kind of the other one. I don't know. Like, is Oliver and Tom Green a little bit too much?
I think they need more depth in there. I sort of feel like
depth is fair.
Callahan, Green, and then I was a bit disappointed by, a bit of a segue, but Toby Bedford showed such great signs early in the year and just fell away a bit.
He did. Yeah, he did. I was hoping for a bigger year. I thought his 2024 was incredible. Yeah, it's an interesting one with them. They are going after a lot of these, like recycled players like Stringer, Laverde, guys with a little bit of like off-field issues.
Yeah.
Stringer, Laverde, now Clayton Oliver. Like, I don't know if you want how many of those guys you want to be bringing in. I guess they back their culture, that they're going to be able to get the best out of those guys. But yeah, definitely also at the same time, increasing the age profile of their list.
I'm just looking at these paparazzi style pics of Clayton Oliver enjoying a boat ride with GWS.
Oh, has that just come out?
2 hours yesterday, but 2 hours ago on the AFL website.
Wow. Yeah. So he did go to Sydney to talk some footy.
Before Kansas,
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, then straight to
Well, I just thought there's more direct flights from Sydney, hitting the West Coast, maybe California.
Maybe it was a coincidence.
San Jose.
Yeah. Maybe it's just a coincidence. No, he was definitely going up there.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the players that could leave Gold Coast. Sam Flanders has just nominated St Kilda, but putting a pin in him for a second, ouch. Bailey Humphrey. Let's talk about this. This is a big deal. We've alluded to him on this show, but I want to talk about what could happen here, because I think the rumor is that there is a belief that he is actually kind of keen to get out of Gold Coast. He hasn't been there long. I reckon it's been 3 seasons, this 2022 draft. And you would have thought that this is a bad time to get out of the Gold Coast Suns, but he's been seen meeting with the Demons via the debrief. Yeah. Adrian got him around for a pint. No, the debrief posted a photo of a meeting, but Hawthorn, Collingwood, and Carlton are the other clubs linked to him. How hard should Gold Coast fight to keep Bailey Humphrey?
As hard as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I think,
Rock
he'll
hard.
be one, like if you ask me the question, who do you think he suits the best? Like he just suits anyone. He instantly improves. I reckon he is the best example of that type of player in the competition as a young player. And I'm so certain that he develops into that. You know, some guys you kind of like, oh, if he does, Bailey Humphrey for me is a slam dunk. So they've got to keep him.
Yeah.
He's important. He's the most important part of this puzzle, I feel, for Gold Coast.
The funny thing here is as well, though, like where he ends up is so important because if he chooses Melbourne, this becomes pretty simple. Now that Flanders cannot or will not go to Melbourne, he'll go to St Kilda. If he goes to Melbourne, the Petracca deal becomes a little bit simpler. If he goes to Hawthorn, the Merritt deal becomes a lot more complicated.
Wow.
And you wonder if Hawthorn would then prioritise a Humphrey or a Merritt. I think that becomes a tough choice considering they're not like for like there. Collingwood just having a dip. Who are they going to trade? Bo McCreary?
Jamie Elliott, Bo McCreary.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, the players they could trade, obviously Myercheck and Elliott's staying, isn't he? So it's just really Myercheck. Bo McCreary, again, not a serious link there. And we know Gold Coast were chasing him. And we can talk a little bit about Bobby Hill too. But I would say that all of those players added up don't make enough to get a Bailey Humphrey.
No.
But it'd be really interesting if he chooses them. He is contracted, so it won't be enough to get him over.
When does his contract expire?
I think he's still got 3 years on it.
Yeah,
It's a
wow.
long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking he could like ride it out a little bit longer.
There was a story that came out earlier in the year, and this story has just like absolutely exploded over the last 24 hours, particularly since he's met with Melbourne. But there was a story that came out that Gold Coast posted about how Bailey Humphrey was homesick up at the Gold Coast. And I think he might have been playing a fair bit of VFL early on or whatever. And then he moved in with like 2 Gold Coast AFLW girls.
That's right,
And that was the story. It was like he got
yeah.
homesick and then found...
When was he playing VFL? Must have been early.
Early on, I think.
Okay.
I think it was just like, I don't know, he found it tough up at the Gold Coast initially.
Gippy boy. So he's from country Victoria.
Yes. Friend of the show, Caden McDonald, sent me a photo yesterday saying he couldn't be closer to home if he played for Melbourne because they train out at Casey, which is only like an hour and a half away. So the go home factor is strongest at the Ds. I really want to see this move happen. Bailey Humphrey away from Gold Coast because they are becoming the most terrifying team in football and we need to weaken them somehow. So Bailey Humphrey, please go to Carlton. Go to Melbourne, go play for a stinker because, this Gold Coast giant, this Gold Coast monster is
Wrong
is
franchise.
terrifying.
Do you guys also get like, I sort of get that thing with a player like Bailey Humphrey though. Like I don't want him to go and play for a crap team because then we won't get to see him on the big stage.
You wouldn't take him at North?
Yeah, and he's not going to North, so I don't even have to worry about that. But yeah, like I don't know if he's buried in a bottom 6 to 8 side.
Sorry, you said buried in the bottom, and then you paused.
Gobble, gobble.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I want to see him in the final series, I guess.
Yeah.
As a neutral fan.
I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't.
We'll get him to Fremantle then. So let's go through. Yeah, Melbourne, that makes sense. Collingwood, it just does not. Hawthorn, it would have to come at the cost of merit. And with Carlton was going to be an interesting one because that would then reopen the door, I think, for Curnow.
Yeah.
So we a few minutes ago, I said Sam Edmund had reported that the Gold Coast Curnow to Gold Coast is now off. What happens if Bailey Humphrey goes? I'm guessing that's not based on the condition that Humphrey stays. Then we move on to guys like, we know about Sam Flanders choosing St Kilda. That will give them pick 7, but it's also the salary element we've got to consider here. Ben Ainsworth is another player that is linked to a move. It says the 27-year-old played 24 out of 25 games this year, contracted for another 3 years because he signed a new deal in 2024. He was going to be a restricted free agent, so he committed past that. That's another player in addition to Butterick, Flanders, and some of the other players. Malcolm Roses. Yeah, just players that are exiting their list that could free up some money here. Could these sorts of names open the door for Charlie Curnow again? That would be wild. It does rely on Bailey Humphrey choosing Carlton, though.
Could Ben Ainsworth open the door for... Oh, I see what you mean. So, like, for Gold Coast.
Yeah, like I presume, like, if they get Petracca,
Yeah.
they can't get Curnow. I presume that's only money related.
Yeah.
And I suppose trade capital as well. But, like, suddenly Ainsworth and Flanders and Bailey Humphrey, in addition to those other guys, are leaving.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much... And Fiorini. Fiorini has offers from Gold Coast, Port Adelaide and Essendon. Again, not a big-name player. But there's a lot of exits here on the cards for Gold Coast where we could see, imagine Curnow, Petracca and Ugle-Hagan. Probably not all three, but...
That'd be like the biggest off-season we've seen.
Yeah, that would be.
For like a seriously long time. But currently they hold pick 6, 14, 17, 34, really in the top end of the draft.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that. So they're going to get 7 back for Flanders, we assume.
Yeah.
So they've got a pretty strong hand to be able to go after. Like, do you think... at the age of Petracca and Curnow, that's already enough picks to be able to get that done, even if you don't include Bailey Humphrey in that?
Tough one because they need. Yeah, they obviously got Hewland and Patterson.
Would the 6 and 7 on their own, like, would that just be like 1 first round each for Curnow and Petracca, given their age?
Yeah, but then does it leave them exposed to get the academy players?
Not enough points.
Yeah, they need to figure that in. And then you think, okay, well, what happens if they lose an Ainsworth and a Fiorini and a Flanders? Like, suddenly is their depth compromised, like we said about Brisbane? And then you think, oh, hang on, they've got Leo Lombard, Jake Rogers, Zeke Hewland, Dylan Patterson, and maybe Adam Saul as well to add through the draft. Like, they're very well equipped to deal with a bunch of players leaving at the same time.
Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned like a Will Graham.
Yeah, that's right.
He still exists and is like a pretty solid player.
Yeah, Jed Flanders. Jed Flanders.
Jed Flanders.
It was a mixture of Sam Flanders, Jed Walter, and Ned Flanders.
Why is that so funny? That's incredible.
Oh,
just to lighten the mood a little bit here, Reef Luke has given us a $14.99 super chat.
We did this one.
That was from earlier.
It must have come up late. Sorry.
Yeah, it must have come up late on screen.
That's cut that out, but thank you.
Sorry, I was in the bathroom at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Taking one of your monstrous poos. Okay, back to football.
This could be some breaking news. I don't know if Rogue Riot's trolling, but
we don't know if people
my
are messing
check
with us.
to Melbourne is on via Xander Maguire.
I did hear that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can corroborate that.
There you go.
Corroborate?
Corroborate. Yeah.
Does that mean like I concur?
Corroborate means like my story matches his story.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Words.
I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is potentially happening. What do we think about that from a Melbourne perspective?
It's a need. Makes sense.
It flies in the face of the rest of their recruiting strategy. Like Stephen May's another one leaving. And they do have other established like senior leaders on the list still. Obviously, they want avenues to goal. So I suppose the idea is, yes, they'll target the draft and younger talented players, but they can't go without another avenue to goal. They want to stay competitive.
See, it's the Stephen King method here. I think it's actually less about clearing age profile than it is about culture.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
So I don't think the MyCheck one necessarily, even though his age doesn't fit, he seems like a pretty good club guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great move for the D's, I reckon.
Yeah, as long as he stays fit. That's the only thing with MyCheck.
Oh, yeah. That's I see that now. It's
he joins D's
14 minutes ago. He's off to the D's.
I know the guy that makes these graphics, and I've been watching him at 7 AFL. Big fan of him. I'm not going to name names. But yeah, the way that he's been making these graphics is so provocative. And fair play to him. He's generating great engagement, but like MyCheck joins the D's. Well, he hasn't.
Yeah, true.
Yet.
He's like requested a trade, I presume.
And like yesterday, there was like Cozzy X Bailey Humphrey, like demon emoji, and everyone's like, "Oh, share that shit." But like,
wait, is MyCheck a free agent?
Is he?
He might be. Yeah, maybe that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I wouldn't think he'd say joins if he hasn't actually agreed.
If he's a
hasn't
free agent, you would just say joins.
Yeah.
Mind you, it is Saturday.
Yeah, unrestricted free agent.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, well,
so that doesn't help
my
Collingwood's
apologies.
draft situation.
No.
There you go.
That's a fair cop. I like it.
God, this is live action coming at you under the table right now
Yeah.
as we record.
This is incredible
Horrible
stuff.
choice of words. Where are we at?
I'll just give a question from the chat while we sort of segue. Davey Botticelli, this is presumably for you, Jesse. Given the recruitment of Young, could Brock move up onto the wing, given his speed and nice kick?
Oh, that's an interesting call. I don't know what his tank is like, but he's not a very conventional tall defender. Like his best assets are like that. Probably like a little bit of athleticism, certainly his long rangey kick, and he's not as adept or at least proven as a one-on-one defender. He's actually more of a rebounder. So
does he have enough, I guess, like ground ball skill to be a winger?
That's what I'm not sure about, to be
Yeah,
honest.
and
I
the
genuinely,
lateral movement and stuff like that.
yeah, that's probably where my mind goes. I'd have to really reconsider that, but I mean, he plays a pretty like aerial game, as a defender at West Coast. So I need to see that, but I'm not too sure if a wing is the right spot. But he could play third tall defender, and therefore that opens up Jinby to be a little bit more attacking than simply a lockdown defender as well. If he doesn't have to absorb like a third tall.
It's a great get for you guys, I think.
Yeah, I think, established best 20. Well, somewhat established, but he walks into the best 22, I would say.
Finals push in 26.
That's it. Jack Steele has been told to explore his options by St Kilda. He has stood down from a leadership position, or captain that is, and there is uncertainty about his future. Now, I think he is saying publicly that he's keen to stay, and I believe the phrasing was something along the lines of he's done the hard yards at St Kilda and he doesn't want to leave right as they become good. But obviously, I think that is because he's been told to explore his options. That's implied there that they don't see him as a starting team member next year, or at least not for very long.
It's also like a salary cap move, presumably.
That's a good point.
He'd be on a decent amount of salary, and they're bringing in all these guys, and they want to start troubleshooting that.
That's
a
a good
little
call.
bit.
Yeah,
We're really seeing like the midfielders of yesteryear die out, aren't we? Darcy Parish, Jack Steele, guys like that. Just your big-bodied, one-pace midfielder. Jack Steele, he's a player that you can't hate. He's the captain of the club, but he has struggled in recent times. He's going to step down from the captaincy, as you mentioned. So
there's just not a role specifically for that player anymore.
no, you can't be a good bloke and win your team football games, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's a bit of a sad story though.
It is.
Where
Where does he fit?
At any club or
which club does he go to? I mean, we talked about West Coast. I think the logic for it is sound. Is there anyone else?
Just tell me, like, what with Jack Steele, like, what is he good at? Is there anything that he can bring other than just sort of saying, like, yeah, he's got experience, he's a leader and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I think getting his hands on the footy, like, we're the worst stoppage team in the competition by some margin.
He's not the best at that, though. Like, if you compare him to, like, the top guy, and not that you would need him to be the best either, but he has been pushed out of that team by Jack McRae for that exact role.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of level of player we're talking about here. I always saw him as a decent clearance player that tackled a lot. So he applied pressure really well.
Yeah, well, that's also something that we need. Look, obviously, you don't recruit every type of player like this, but I think Steele's also the captain of his football club up until 2 days ago, and I think West Coast still has an appetite for that. Even if worst case scenario, he plays in the waffle, depending on what we give up for him, like that's still, I think there's still something to be had of having a leader of that quality. We're not talking about a sizable trade here. In fact, it might even just be Liam Ryan in that scenario. But also, to be clear, there is nothing actually publicly linking West Coast to Steele. We're just speculating on who would be the right sort of club.
What would you give up for him?
I think the Liam Ryan straight swap kind of makes sense. Yeah, no. It'd have to be part of the Liam Ryan deal.
Do you think that's like equal value? I feel like Liam Ryan has a lot more to give.
Liam Ryan's way better.
Yeah, maybe they give us a pick back. But I mean, like what? Yeah. It's that or a future second, which you could argue we probably would like. But, we're not dealing with serious capital here.
I feel like it'd be almost one of those moves for the Saints where they might, I mean, I don't know. Do you have to give up something for a player in a trade?
In a trade, yeah.
You do have
but
to
it can be a
something.
pick that won't be used. Like it can be pick 86.
Yeah. I think it would be more like that for me. And it would be more for St Kilda just saying like, as long as you'll take this, like absorb the salary.
Oh, yeah. Which I presume we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Steele isn't that bad a footballer still.
No, I mean he's consistently played AFL up until now, so he can do it. Just limited roles, and then like you guys obviously going after. If you're in for Finn McRae, you're in for Jack Steele.
I think he's a better player than Devon Robertson. Still,
yeah,
similar level.
I would for West Coast, I would rather see them go after a Jack Steele and only Jack Steele than have a flirt with like a ton of these guys. I know you do. You have the extra list spots, which does help a little bit.
Yeah.
And if one of them pops, then you kind of win.
Yeah, that's probably the way I would be approaching it. That's the way I see it. But failing that, is there another club that would look at Jack Steele? I mean,
Essendon maybe.
Josh Williams in the chat said he could go to Port.
Oh, they'd love that.
That is a very Port-esque kind of move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it makes more sense for West Coast than it does for Port. But again, I mean, would he move? I know he's actually from New South Wales originally, but it seems
Port
it's a big move. It's a big move.
GWS? Question mark? If they're looking at Clary.
Nah.
I still think Clary's a better player.
Yeah, they wouldn't go after him.
Yeah.
They're not that desperate.
Yeah.
God, it'd be such a shit position to be in. Like, you'd reach the heights that Jack Steele does in your career, and then it's like, where do you go?
Yeah, at his best, he was highly ranked in the league.
Yeah.
So
I was just thinking about the connection there, like somebody like a Luke Parker that North Melbourne took. But I don't know. I feel like Luke Parker's got a little bit he's just got a few more weapons.
Yeah,
like
push forward.
Push forward, hit the scoreboard. And he's such a tenacious character. Not that Jack Steele's not. Like, he goes at it, but he's lost a lot, hasn't he? Like, I feel like even that defensive pressure, he's lost a bit of a leg to be able to apply that pressure too.
Yeah.
We'll move on. Zane Dersma is another name that keeps popping up. We have discussed this on and off, but there is some speculation still that Zane Dersma could end up at the Essendon Football Club. He was picked 4. He's played 23 games, 6 of which were as the sub. And it's only been 2 seasons, but the Bombers have been sort of, nibbling at his earlobes for a little while now. And there is, a broader rumour that Essendon is trying to reunite all 3 Dersma brothers, which would then have a flow-on effect of how they try and move up to get pick 1 potentially. As a North fan, I guess summarise briefly, because we have discussed it, where do you think Zane Dersma's at, and how would you feel if he left?
He looks sad. He just looks like a sad character at North Melbourne. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I know it's probably true. I know it's a little bit it's probably a little bit early to say your career's done there. The problem with a player like Zane Dersma, if you're North Melbourne, is you're just not going to get enough back for him. So unless he's really rocking the boat, I don't think it makes sense for North Melbourne. I just don't think they should have drafted him in the first place, but there's not really any
Did
point.
you feel that at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he should have gone for Curtin or Watson.
He did say that, yeah.
Yeah. At the time, I was pretty happy with McKercher, and I wanted one of Watson or Curtin. Particularly, I think I was more Curtin at the time. But anyway, that's not the point. That's neither here nor there. He's there. I'd just try to hang on to him if I could. It's from an Essendon perspective, I get it. They kind of want to...
You'd ask for a top 10 pick.
You wouldn't get that.
But you'd ask for it because he contracted.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You set the price. For his pick 4, played 23 games. I would stand up and I would say, Essendon, his value hasn't gone down that much.
Well, this is what I'm hearing from the content that I've absorbed over the last little bit, is that Essendon are happy to wait for another year because his value will drop.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's probably the smart play here, to be honest.
Because it's going to be much harder to get him in right now. He'll be out of contract at the end of next year, I'm assuming, as a third-year player.
Yeah.
So that's probably the smart play from Essendon. Not that they've been the smartest players over the years.
What's the likelihood he explodes next year? Or at least let's just say has really meaningful improvement. And what does that look like? Is it as a third tall forward?
Yeah, it would have to be. He's not getting in that midfield.
Yeah.
So he would have to show a lot. I don't think he's good enough at that role. So I think it's almost a 0 chance. The problem is for Essendon in going after him then. I agree with you, his value will decrease, but then it's also what are you buying? Because he's had another year in the system where you've seen that he hasn't really improved or developed that much.
Yeah.
But if you got him for a discounted price, it makes sense. And then you've got Xavier Dersma there. Maybe they are going to make a play for this number 1 or number 2 pick and go after Willem in the 2025 draft as well. So
getting a triple Dersberger is such a side quest. It's just
it is, isn't it?
How about you just try to win a final?
Yeah. It's
we have 3 Dersmas. Wow.
It's one of those things that strangely makes the fans really excited.
Dersma cubed.
Just a Dersma burger.
Dersma cubed.
Yeah. The biggest one I've heard from Essendon fans, they're like, this is easy, straight swap Dersma for Sardis. That makes
That's
less
horrible.
than 0% chance, sense for us.
Dersma kicks it to Dersma. Who kicks it to Dersma? Who kicks a goal to bring the Bombers back within 47 points?
Do you mean Thirdsma?
Nice.
Thanks, man.
Who's better, Zane Dersma or Elijah Sardis?
I would still take the punt on Zane. I think Elijah has real technical flaws that will be hard to overcome, and for that reason, I would still say Zane. I'm actually kind of amazed there's been such a withdrawal from Zane. You know what I mean? From in terms of public perception, people have just gone, "Oh, he's clearly no good." But
yeah, he's still quite young.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
played
still
2
very
years.
young.
Yeah,
and I don't want to talk to the character of a person that I don't know, but I wanna do exactly that. The Dersmans have been a really strong footballing family. Even Yasmin playing in the AFLW. So is there an aspect of they're so good coming up through high school, successful sporting family, and then they get to the AFL where they really have to dig deep and work for it? And there's just it's at North Melbourne, it's a bit hard. Whereas if he, got picked up by a Hawthorn, for example, he might be able to shine in a system like that is more successful and suits him more as a player.
Yeah, potentially. It's so hard. Those things are pretty ambiguous, aren't they? About like mentality.
Because has it
like
been like work rate that's been his biggest criticism?
a little
That's
bit?
what I'm hearing.
A little bit. I think he's a weird positional type.
Yeah.
And you're kind of seeing like I don't think even in juniors, I don't think he was that good of a midfielder. And then he's that third tall forward. And like there's not that many of that type of player anymore where like they're just a genuine third, like sort of roaming third tall forward.
Yeah.
He's got like pretty good marking technique, but like his cleanliness and ground level stuff isn't amazing. So
What's he good at?
Probably marking. I'd say his biggest strength. Like the thing that I've
okay.
seen from him is just the aerial game, like very strong in the air. But yeah, he doesn't like. He's not like explosive. Like doesn't have explosive pace or anything like that. I don't really see him being a midfielder. And then I kind of just wonder because I think if you draft that sort of low 190 centimeter utility type, they have to be versatile enough that they can actually be that utility. They can play like pretty much any position potentially.
Yeah, well said. Let's see how that plays out. I reckon it'll be more likely next year.
A little bit of speculation on Bobby Hill. This seems to never really go away. Even like recently, I think somebody put up a post speculating about Bobby Hill not being at Collingwood next year. He then replied with 2 black and white circle emojis.
Yeah, I saw that.
Recommitting like his commitment. But Sam Edmund, I think it was Sam Edmund that said like that's not necessarily the case. Well, what he said actually is that as far as Bobby is concerned, he is 110% committed. So it's not a Bobby Hill thing. But okay, to go on, he says he has already started training his management, so they haven't spoken to any rival clubs. And as far as Bobby's concerned, he's committed and wants to stay. But he said, Sam Edmund, multiple rivals yesterday told me that they'd been given an indication by Collingwood or someone at the club that the Pies would be open to a deal. Officially, Collingwood have denied this. And then he goes on to say, I find it hard to believe that they would potentially lose Myercheck, Elliott, and then agree to a trade for Bobby Hill. I don't see a world where even with Bobby's problems, they would allow that. So I guess reading into that a little bit, if we're trying to, assuming this is true and assuming Collingwood are open to this, I presume the off-field element would be a factor. But there's also Collingwood are what's the word? Inserting themselves into all of these big profile deals, Bailey Humphrey in particular and Charlie Curnow and Jack Silvani before that. That was a free agent move. But they are obviously still trying to get deals done and have realised, okay, we have the least equipped list in the AFL to formulate a trade for anyone valuable. Who are the players with currency? Now, Myercheck's just joined Melbourne Footy Club as a free agent. That's not going to generate anything for him. Elliott stayed, and they've told Tom Mitchell and Mason Cox that they, can explore another club, but none of these generate value. Who does? Bobby Hill does that.
Yep.
So I think that's possibly what's at play here. What do you guys make of the situation?
I think you summed that up perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. Okay.
It's like it kind of reminds you like with some of that stuff with the deals that they're looking for. They're kind of out fighting fires when theirs is on fire. With guys like Myercheck sort of walking out from underneath them. I'm sort of surprised they weren't able to hold a player like that. Same with Elliott. I don't know how close the Elliott one is to actually transpiring.
No, I think that's settled. He's staying.
He's staying.
Yeah.
He's staying. Okay.
Yeah,
So
is that a good result for Collingwood? That they're just like retaining all. Well, I know he's a good player, but like, what capital do they have to do anything?
But Elliott probably wouldn't have generated much, I don't think. Given his age, he's like 33.
We kind of went over it like last week, I think. Like they don't have players that generate capital other than like Bobby Hill is probably one of the few that do. He's sort of a little bit of a Shea Bolton type, isn't he? He would want to go to a club that's pushing for finals at least.
Come to Freo, Bobby.
Someone that can. I mean, I don't think you guys really need him anymore.
Well, we were going to go for Cozzy.
Yeah, Cozzy's a bit of a different, younger.
He can play inside, a bit more explosive.
Yeah.
There's definitely room for Bobby Hill. We're trying to get a small forward.
There's room.
Yeah.
There's clearly room, but yeah.
There was a comment that I saw on Twitter earlier that I just want to read out, not related to this, but talking about Collingwood and how much they gave up for Schultz and Houston. They don't really have any draft capital. So, they're really just going to have to play around with free agents. And, another name that they're probably looking at next year is Zach Butters. So,
Ben King would also be a contender, right, next year. I think he's out of contract, and they have previously been linked to him. So, that one actually makes a lot of sense. So, just clearing a little bit of contract space, I presume.
What are their biggest list needs?
Well, goal scoring power, like Myercheck was, and Elliott obviously. But,
Elliott was their top goal scorer in 25.
That's right, but Myercheck has always been up there.
It always has been a key forward, even though they've got McStay in, but also defensive stock. So potentially Stephen May, who's been talked about.
So my call here would be next year, Charlie West, drafted in 2024.
Okay.
Yep.
He comes in, plays the Myercheck role. I'm just like throwing a few things around here.
He was a player that got injured earlier in the year, like first game of the year, and they had a lot of high hopes for him.
Charlie Dean?
Yeah.
Was that him?
Charlie Dean. That's what I was
I don't
thinking
think
of.
he's
I think he's been cut.
Yeah.
Has he?
Yeah, he's been delisted now. I think he was too injured.
Oh, no, I know who you're talking about. McInnes.
Yes, that's what I was
Reece
thinking of.
McInnes.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
So they'll get him back. That's a big in. He was looking really good as a lockdown defender. Previous to that, he was more of that mid-forward type.
Yeah.
But kind of a failed mid-forward, gone behind the ball, bit of an interceptor. The other one is Will Hayes. Played a little bit of footy. He's a WA boy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Really good runner. And I do
remember him.
think that he, given his VFL form, I think he's a player that could come and move the needle a little bit. Like, I'm not saying Charlie West and Will Hayes and Finn McInnes are going to do everything, but they do have a couple of guys to come back.
When you look at their list needs, you'd say younger players, not like 18-year-old as such, but like they need to refresh the age profile of that list. And so I reckon it's pretty much a blank canvas. There's no position you'd say, nah, absolutely not. Maybe like a halfback running defender is probably the one where you're like, okay, they're probably okay for there. You prioritise probably some talls, but I think there's a blank canvas really for Collingwood.
Hal's going to be on the way out pretty soon, you'd think.
Yeah.
Murphy had that retirement due to concussion. So I'd probably say that. And then they've never had that beacon up forward since like Travis Cloak.
You don't need it.
I'm trying to think, was there anyone in between that? Probably not. It's certainly since like 18, it was Myercheck was good.
Yeah,
like
even
the
Darcy
V1.
Moore played a bit of forward early in his career.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this McStay is probably like the main target.
They also do have Zach McCarthy, who's a pretty decent prospect.
Okay.
Top 20 to 30 in this year's draft as a father-son, and Thomas McGawan, of course, as well. So not going to be doing a lot in the short term, but it will be giving them somewhat of a discount on younger talent when they need it.
Are they in a pickle, Collingwood?
I think the way I summarised it the other day is like, if you ignore the name Collingwood and the strength of the club, if you just looked at the list profile, you'd think, oh my God. But, you know, with Geelong, we're not far off that profile a few years ago.
Totally.
And they managed to smooth out that situation really well. Collingwood have to do similar, but they'll have to make some hard calls, and they are doing that to their credit.
A few years ago, they had to trade out, it was Treloar and someone else.
And Grundy.
Yeah.
Jaden Stevenson was another one.
Yeah. So they found a way to revitalise, but they don't have that Treloar or, you know, a rising star in Stevenson or their best ruckman in, you know, maybe Darcy Cameron.
Mind you, I don't think they got anything much for those deals other than salary cap space.
Yeah, okay,
I think they were all sold at a discount.
Yeah.
So, but they do have Jack Buller coming in, likely. That's another confirmed. I think it's I don't know if it's a confirmed trade request, but yeah.
If you got some development out of someone like that, it could move the needle pretty quickly. And then they pick up, in the next couple of years, they pick up a free agent.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they have to hope for.
Jice are wrong.
Oh, yes.
There has been some speculation of 3 clubs chasing Jice wrong. I'll let you take this over, but I will explain that he was seen meeting up with Dockers coach Justin Longmuir, and of course Jai is the brother of Caleb, but previously we know that North Melbourne and Sydney were also interested in him.
North Melbourne and Sydney?
Yeah.
I heard, North Melbourne have been really hot on him. Well, our interest extends to his draft year. We wanted to take him with pick 55. Hawthorn had the pick before that, and they took him. And
Nepotism?
that's a big word. I don't know what that means.
We've discussed this word on the show.
Yeah.
before.
Have we?
It's like favouring family members.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Nepotism. I'm going to add that one to my diction.
Have you heard the term Nepo baby?
Yeah.
That's what Ross Lyon said about
that's what
Gold
that
Coast.
Yeah, it's like
Nepo.
favoritism.
Okay.
Yeah. They're related to the Gold Coast, to the AFL.
Yeah, we sort of spoke about Jai Sarong a fair bit recently. 2-time BNF with Box Hill over the past 2 years. He's a strong lockdown defender. We sort of made these points on the last ep, but he's rated highly by Tom Barrass and James Sicily, saying how strong he is as a one-on-one player. They rate him as a key defender. We spoke about how hard it is to break into that Hawthorn team. I think he fits in well at Freo. Adds to that defensive stock, And yeah, he's a good ball user from halfback, which we need as well. If you are Jai Sarong, what would you do, Dylan? Where would you go?
North Melbourne.
Yeah, I'll just come down to Arden Street.
Well,
Looks
he'd go straight into the best 22 at North, so he will get that AFL footy. I feel like if he goes to Freo, obviously more chance of potential finals football. And
I think when you've
flag.
won 2 best and fairests in the VFL, you want to strike while the iron's hot. If you're a player like that,
That's a good
you
point.
You do not want to go to a club like this is from the individual's perspective. You don't want to go to a club where you're not going to play because you'll just get forgotten about.
yeah.
They're not really they're not going to favour you. They're not going to care that you've got a good story and you've done well in the VFL, and they're not going to care that Tom Barras said you're strong
And that Caleb Strong's your brother.
and that Caleb Sarong's your brother.
That's
exactly.
true.
So I would go to a club where I
They
could
go, "Oh, my
instantly
points."
play.
One by one.
In all honesty, as much as I pot North, they're probably they're a little bit of that rung up from right now compared to like a Richmond or a West Coast as far as like young talent coming through.
Yeah.
So you disagree?
I've also got a point on Jai Sarong, and he met up with JL. But another point, Zane Littlejohn has joined North Melbourne as a development or a tactics coach.
Correct.
Who was the Box Hill head coach?
I thought it
for
was
the past
development.
Few years. Yeah, development or tactics, one of them.
Yeah, I thought it was development. Yeah, anyway.
So he has coached Jai Sarong to be a strong player in that Box Hill side. Could potentially do the same at North Melbourne.
Yeah, it's pretty big raps on him as an assistant type coach. So
The kids at school would have had a field day with that surname.
Zane Littlejohn
he's a Tassie guy.
Ah, yeah, right.
says it all. Good bloke.
I had a point about Sarong.
I didn't mean to chirp.
Sorry.
That. I just saw Dylan look down like,
No. At Fremantle, Sarong and McVie come in. Who go out? I know it's not in a lock that Sarong gets a game, but if he were, like, who's he competing with? And
Bailey Banfield.
oh yeah, easy.
Actually.
Injury in.
That's not the
Yeah.
same type though. Bailey Banfield's not like for like. That's
Well,
just
no,
like
but he
shit
plays
player out.
Halfback.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but
should he is the other question.
I reckon Sarong would have to usurp a Luke Ryan, Cox, or Pierce type.
Sounds painful.
You never miss. Never miss.
You're right.
No
Let's go
doubt.
McVie for Banfield is an easy win.
Yeah.
How does he
that,
compare
that
to
makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like our backs rarely go to the bench. I feel like Brennan Cox, Luke Ryan, Heath Chapman pretty much play 100% game time. So it would probably would be like a bench rotation.
I suppose you have an extra bench spot now.
Why is that?
There's 23-man
Oh,
teams
true.
next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But our half back line, I think Jai Sarong's he's not stupid tall. He's sort of that
Yeah,
medium size.
I'm just having a look.
I reckon he's like 6.
He's 192, I think.
He is 192.
Yeah.
What's that? Is that
I had him
6'3"?
at
6'4"?
6'3" and a bit.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Centimeters.
Yeah.
Completely different body type to Caleb. But yeah, our half back line, it's like Warner and Chapman. They're like they're that size. They're that wiry, tall, can play short or tall. And I think Sarong is that same type of player. So I would take him for his own career. Potentially North would be a good move. And Sydney, I wouldn't rule that out as a good option either because they need some key defensive stocks. So
Yeah, it's a great target for them.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go for another mid-show tinkle. Just a tinkle this time.
you want to
As was
finish
the
with
first
this
one.
last one before you go for
I
the
don't
tinkle,
know if
just to
that's
round it
really
out?
worth it,
Okay.
to be honest, that one.
No worries.
Yeah, that's just something I made up. So I'll let you guys drive for a minute.
Cool. All right.
There are a few people talking about Jai Sarong in the chat. Essendon also keen. Did we bring them up?
No,
No.
I didn't know about that one.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess with Laverde going out, did they delist? They delisted Laverde, didn't they?
Yes.
Yep. And then the Giants have swooped in on him. You've got Blackiston. They sort of recruited a lot of tools in that mid-season draft period. I don't think they've really delisted anyone other than they delisted Menzie, Oscar Smart. Yeah. But from that mid-season pickups, I think Oscar's the only one that went out. Blackiston stayed, Archer May stayed, and the Carlton VFL guy who name escapes me.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I think he would be another good pickup for them. Probably good for the age profile as well. Sean John Hall says, how likely do you think it is now for Zach Merritt to go to Hawthorn? It's a good question. Where is that at, Drews?
Where is that at? Did you see the drive-by that Merritt gave at the BNF? He's like, through my 12 years and 160 players and 5 coaches and countless performance staff that I've worked with here, the club isn't about one person. It's like, he's just saying, there's been so much change and everyone's looking at me to get you out of this hole, but get yourselves out of it.
Yeah.
God, well...
Yeah, it's a decent point from his perspective.
What would you prefer as an Essendon fan? Would you prefer to keep him?
Yeah, I would. Like, I know people have... Like, Jesse's not in the basket of it's a disaster if he walks out because he thinks that they've got enough leaders there. It's tricky, though. When it's Zach Merritt, like, let's just say, hypothetically, one of their better players wanted to leave. Like, Jai Caldwell says he wants to leave. Fine.
Yeah.
I do think symbolically it's difficult. There is a small part of me that's looking at Zach Merritt and going like, maybe they should just get him out, like just go full fresh.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's what they're doing club wide anyway. I don't think they're having this enormous clean out of the.
Yeah.
Brad Scott's been there for a little while now. Some of the other players as well, so they're not really fully cleaning out, say like what Melbourne are doing at the moment or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Essendon have got pick 20 in compensation for Draper.
pick 20. Yeah, I don't think they'll be particularly wrapped with that. See, I would have thought that he would have got a higher... Well, it's on position. That's obviously band 2, right? I would have thought he would have got more than Silvani.
They're not happy with that, Essendon fans on Twitter.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so.
Merritt out and end of first round for Draper, and no one really wants to join him.
Yeah, I think they were hoping for that because they've got multiple in the top 10, and I think they were hoping that was going to get to like just after that, so they'd have 3 back to back.
Yeah, okay.
Stacked in the first 10 picks.
The D's are in a bit of a scary position if they don't land Bailey Humphrey, aren't they? Because Flanders has gone to St Kilda, McVee's out. Like, where do you get improvement from externally? How many first rounders do they have this year?
None.
They traded it last year.
Yeah. So it's effectively they have Xavier Lindsay because they took him a year early.
Wow.
Yeah, which I don't think was a bad call.
Yeah, it was a good call, I reckon.
They got because Essendon needed to trade that Kako pick, so now Essendon are double stacked in this year's draft. So Essendon had their hands tied behind their back because they had to get rid of the pick anyway. Melbourne swooped in and took it in a really strong draft. So well done to them. They've got. It's not a disaster for Melbourne though. I think there's some levers that they can pull, but you could see it with under a brand new coach. It goes either one of 2 ways, doesn't it? You get that like Adam Kingsley really fast bounce, or you get we're in purgatory for like 3 or 4 years and we can't get out.
Did we want to get onto the Melbourne talk?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think Melbourne's going to be a big player this trade period, naturally, with all the rumours. And
Just before you start,
please do,
we've just received a super chat.
Nice.
So
well done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just thought we'd just address that.
Yeah.
Rob Kirians, if I'm pronouncing that right, $5 he's given. No compo for top 8 sides who lose a player via free agency. Also, bottom 10 sides don't lose any acquired compo picks if they also bring guys in. Thoughts? Gotcha.
Yeah, no.
Gotcha.
I just needed to process it.
Yeah, so did I.
Bottom... I don't know. I reckon I would probably change it to top 4 and bottom 4, personally.
Oh, wait. What?
The bottom 4 sides, like, okay, West Coast is a real life example. Like, West Coast doesn't dilute because they get Starcevic. As an example, obviously, all bottom 4 sides would have the same rule. And for top 4 sides, they wouldn't lose. The top 4 would be the clubs that wouldn't get the compo pick if they lose a top 4 player. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think that supercharges tanking though? We've got 2 players in free agency coming up at the end of the year where we're 6th bottom.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think that's a really good point. Yeah. There would be some niche examples where that could be exploited, but not so rare that it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with tanking in general, generally speaking, I don't think it happens because there's not an enormous amount to gain from it all the time, but it does happen.
Yeah.
I think it has to be acknowledged.
Yeah, totally.
Good super chat.
Yeah.
Great question.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the D's.
Yeah.
Where are they at, Jesse?
Well, this is a real crossroads. We talked about dip and staying competitive. And that was true when you had a nucleus still of Gawn still playing extremely well and Petracca and Oliver on the list. You don't waste that. And now that narrative has been completely flipped on its head. Simon Goodwin has made way and Stephen King has come in. I don't think this would necessarily be isolated to Stephen King's strategy.
Sorry, I think the audio just went.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. How long were we muted for? Okay, all right. I'll probably...
Yeah, start it again.
Yeah, I'll just repeat myself. Forgive me for that if you heard it twice. We are going to discuss the Melbourne Footy Club, who are at a crossroads position. I liken them to Carlton in the sense that Carlton, we've been discussing with the Kerno move and Silvani, the wheels felt like they were falling off a little bit at the back end of a relatively successful period. It is even more pronounced at Melbourne, who are coming out of a premiership window and, I think probably held on to the belief that they could win something or at least stay competitive with this current group for a little while there. Simon Goodwin was very vocal about that. That has been flipped on its head with the likely exits of Christian Petracca, Clayton Oliver, and Stephen May also told to shop himself around. Stephen King has come in as the new coach. I wouldn't isolate it all to Stephen King being the guy that's driving this new thing. I think this would probably been in the works for a little while, but naturally he's going to spearhead that. First of all, I suppose, do you think it was naive of Melbourne to try and reinvigorate around this group of Petracca, Oliver, and Max Gawn, who's still a really good player, and try and keep the party going for a little bit longer? What are your views on that?
I didn't think they were too naive too, given that they were a kick away from a prelim the season before 2024. But then, given all the stuff that happened with Clayton Oliver at the start of last year, they sort of wanted to give it another crack, and it didn't really work out. They lost a lot of games by close margins, but I think if you hold on to that, it's a pretty slippery slope. So I think it's a good time for them to keep the ball rolling.
Oh, I think it was a pretty clear to see, at least by the end of the 2023 season, that this was going in the wrong direction. I think most people that were discussing Melbourne at that time were bringing up these concerns. And I think it was one of the bigger head in the sand moments that we've seen from a club where they were just so dogmatic in they had the best team. Like we saw those moments like Stephen May get up at the best and fairest when they lost to Collingwood and say we fucking should have beaten these guys. We're way better than them. Mm-hmm. They just had that dogmatic approach to the entire thing. And kind of this unwavering belief that they had better players and they were better than everyone and it was just going to turn around. And I think it was pretty clear to see. I'm sort of the opposite to you, Drew. I thought it was pretty clear to see that
I think they were one kick away from a prelim. So I can see why they thought that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they kicked themselves out of that game as well.
Their game style was so clearly uncompetitive with the best sides though at the same time. I get it from the perspective of results driven. They were a kick away from a that's a Carlton game, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't working, and you could just sort of see these problems slowly building up, and they were. I mean, off the field, it was embarrassing. Some of the things that they came out and said, the Brad Green at the BNF, the midfield's going to be Oliver, Viney, and Petracca, that kind of stuff. Yeah. It was just so cringe. I don't know.
These things look way stupider when they don't come off though, and they look amazing.
But I think there are a lot of people saying this at the time as well.
Yeah.
I don't think this is retrospective.
But people laughed at Brendan Gale saying he was going to win 3 premierships with Richmond.
Yeah.
That could be perceived as arrogant, if that had not come off. It's ultimately what you do next that makes it look good or stupid, right?
Correct.
I suppose my view is, I said this maybe earlier in the stream or off air, I can't remember, but as a fan of a club that did this thing, where we also try to prolong a premiership window and stay in the window, recruit Tim Kelly, amongst other things, I am actually grateful that my club had another swing while we thought we had the opportunity. And I'll tell you why. You look at, it's becoming a buzzword, I always reference Geelong. But when there are clubs in the AFL that can belie what you would think is normal list management principles, that you've got to go up and you've got to go down and you've got to go up and you've got to go down. Geelong have never done that. So as an Eagles fan looking at Geelong from across the country, I'm I believe that's what West Coast tried to emulate. Why wouldn't you try and emulate that? The difference is you've got to be the best. You've got to be the best at recruiting. You've got to be the best at coaching. and formulating a game plan, formulating a game plan around the role players that you have. I think Geelong do that so well. So when you're Melbourne and you have Gawn, Oliver, Petracca, and May and Lever and etc., it would have been an incredibly brave call too early to just go, nah, let's rebuild. Like if West Coast had rebuilt in 2019, I would have been filthy. You know what I mean? So that's just my perspective on their decision to kick around on it any longer. But we're well and truly at the point where they're making moves to transition the list.
I guess the difference that I would sort of bring up there between like using the Geelong thing as a model, like their culture's just been so consistently good.
Yeah, no
for
doubt.
such a long time.
No doubt.
I think there are shades where you can see in that Melbourne as a club being at least in recent times. Like I know they had their successful periods like a long time ago, but they've been a pretty unsuccessful club for quite a long time. And there were shades of that coming through in like after that 2021 flag. You could sort of see it, and then the cultural stuff was pretty clear. So as much as I agree with you in like they had the success there and they wanted to go again, but there were more signs there of it cracking apart than say with a Geelong or something like that.
For sure.
And even West Coast.
I'll contrast them to West Coast very clearly here because the difference between West Coast had nothing underneath. To Melbourne's credit, they have been recruiting in a much different way to what West Coast did, and therefore they're not going to fall into the same hole by any stretch, whilst we acknowledge...
Cats, you saying?
No, I'm talking about Melbourne.
I do.
Sorry,
Okay, yeah.
Melbourne are not at all in the position that West Coast are in and will not be because of what they've been doing over the last few years and developed a pretty strong core. Like that. Last year they traded for a second first round pick. They did the same thing in 23. Caleb Windsor? Is he 23?
Yeah, they traded up.
So Windsor and Tholstrup. And generally have been hitting and been present in first rounds of drafts over a number of years and have actually accumulated a decent young core. And you can go back to 2019 where Cozzy Pickett and Trent Rivers were also picked up. They also picked up Luke Jackson that year, who then they were able to turn into other players.
Yep.
But that became Caleb Windsor.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I'll just summarise who I think their young core is that I think is actually in not a bad spot for a team that are just sort of accepting that the rebuild is happening. Cozzy Pickett, Trent Rivers, I would still say are part of the young core. They're both 24 and under, or 24 rather. Harvey Langford, Caleb Windsor, Xavier Lindsay, Colton Tholstrup, Jake Bowie, Daniel Turner now, Jacob Van Rooyen, and perhaps a Jefferson who was a first-round pick. I know he hasn't cracked into the side, but still possibly part of their plans.
Your list is exactly the same as mine, except I didn't have Jefferson on that list.
That one's debatable.
I think he's quite clearly failed at this point. I think Jake Bowie goes onto that list, though. I don't know if
I had Bowie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. That's the part that I totally agree. In the background, they've recruited really well.
Absolutely.
And that's going to hold them. And if you look at the players that they're looking to clear out, there's still quite a lot of leaders there, right? Max Gawn, Jack Viney, Ed Langdon, Melksham, Salem, Lever, and probably even Fritsch if Lever does hang around, that is. So they've got some quality there in the older players.
Absolutely. So there's no like real concern about the arse dropping out of this list when you consider Gawn, Lever, Viney, Salem, Fritsch, Melksham, Langdon, and even like a McAdam who's still like a senior player there. Yep. There's still a lot of experience there. And I had a look at the players who are actually legitimately in their prime at Melbourne. and then this is sort of like, when you look at the size of the list that's in their prime indicates like how serious are they about winning something now, in my opinion. And the three players I picked up were Cade Chandler, Harrison Petty, and Tom Sparrow. They're all 25. As far as players in their prime go, sure, that's not great. You could say Cozzy Pickett. He's kind of in the young core and the prime because
you're classifying 25 as the cutoff there.
No, it was 23 to 28 was roughly the bracket.
Oh, okay.
And all the other players that I said were young core were younger than that, and the retained leaders are older than that.
Yep.
Cozzy Pickett's probably a little bit of young core and in his prime. You'd imagine he probably has hit his prime.
Yep.
I'd say Trent Rivers is possibly approaching his prime, but probably hasn't actually hit his prime.
I think he hasn't had the role more so than anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So in summary, there's a huge portion of the list there that are now quite young, and therefore we should discuss how they go about this offseason in light of Clayton Oliver, Christian Petracca, Stephen May, and now Judd McVie leaving as well as Charlie Spargo. There's 5 exits there. How do you think they go about this offseason?
Well, yeah, we've just seen that Flanders has nominated St Kilda as well, so they've brought in Mychek, which is that key forward position need. They're going to chase hard for Bailey Humphrey in that Petracca deal, you'd think. But yeah, if they fail to land Humphreys, it's just going to be a lot of trade sort of assets that they're going to hold, really, isn't it? What do you think they could get in?
Well, it's difficult really to pinpoint. I almost think with the guys that are walking out the door, they'd probably almost be better off going back to the draft, given what's on the table now. I think the Flanders one would have worked really well for them. Bailey Humphrey, as I said, he works for anyone. So if you can get your hands on him, you probably overpay if you have to get a player like that.
My check, we said earlier, it flies in the face a little bit about this push towards youth because of his age. And I'm not sure exactly how old he was, like 32 to 33, I reckon.
2 years of good footy left.
Yeah. So it's an interesting move here where they're getting an experienced player in and another avenue to goal without being part of the future at all. This is a short-term move to improve in the here and now, but clearly the focus on the list has gone to that under 25 group.
I think the MyCheck one is different though. It's bringing in a guy that offers a different perspective because he's come from another club. If you pinpoint the one area of the Melbourne team that hasn't worked over the last 3 to 4 years, it's the key forwards. That has just been an absolute disaster for them consistently. So it's bringing somebody else in. And I think like a term that you see a lot in soccer is like the players always talk about refreshing the list, right? Refreshing the squad so that it puts pressure on guys and stuff like that. And I think MyCheck's a good one for that. Like he's someone that comes in, he's going to push somebody out on some level, and they're probably looking at it like he can help develop a Van Rooyen, potentially a Jefferson, even though I just wrote him off a moment ago.
Do you think it's a big blow that Judd McVie has requested a trade?
Yes, because I would have put him in the upper end of that.
Absolutely.
Quality coming through. So yeah, that's not ideal.
It's also frustrating when you just like develop a player from. He was a rookie draft pick. I think he was like the last pick of the rookie draft in 21 or 22.
Real bonus gun.
Yeah, just like one of those players that we speak about Hawthorn and Geelong sort of nailing, like those diamonds in the rough, if you will. Absolutely runs through the VFL. Yeah. Has massive preseason, been a best 22 player ever since, and then just goes, I'm gonna go play for the best club in the AFL. And then you end up landing,
you get like a speculative draft pick in a poor draft.
Yeah.
It's not ideal at all. How much do you think though the stuff that's been going on in recent times, like a player like that leaving, how much do you think that affects it? We know Cozzy Pickett's attempted to leave.
Yeah. Could still be on the cards.
Could still be on the cards.
That's
for
probably
Pickett.
the difference between this looking diabolical and not is Cozzy Pickett. Like if he had left,
100%.
Considering Fremantle probably wouldn't have been able to generate a top 5 pick for Cozzy Pickett. Like that wouldn't have happened. Well, I'm very unlikely. I think that endorsement of Cozzy Pickett culturally as well is a huge win for them, but also just from a talent and playing point of view. They can sort of maybe not build a team around him, but he's going to be a very critical piece of the team that takes him forward, you'd think. Already a premiership player as well. So I guess just getting back to Petracca and Oliver, what do you think is the best possible outcome here? It's got to be Bailey Humphrey would be the ideal solution, a player who is both represents the future, but is also going to make them better in the short term.
Yeah, for me, Bailey Humphrey, top dog. I'd probably say Flanders would have been a nice, like if they didn't get Humphrey and they got Flanders, that would have been a nice just piece into their midfield coming in and that can play straight away and improve you. And someone that's like Flanders still has development in him, so that's a big miss, I would say. I can't think of many other players like in the off, like ready-made players in the off season that could massively change much for Melbourne. Like I don't think they need to go digging around in the same way that West Coast do for like a Dev Robertson or a Finn McRae. It's sort of unnecessary.
Totally.
They would be Bailey Humphrey now.
Yeah.
Get Bailey Humphrey.
Well, what if Bailey Humphrey says, no, I want to play for Carlton? We do need to consider like what the trade looks like. Actually, let's stay on Humphrey for a second.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's Humphrey for Petracca? Like, what does that trade look like? Is that a straight swap? Is it which team gives more?
Melbourne.
You think Melbourne gives more for Bailey Humphrey than Petracca on his own?
Yep. Clearly.
I agree. Like with I can see how you got there, but I would.
Melbourne are going to drive hard for him.
I was just
the working out is good, but the results.
I understand why you said that, but I do wonder if in reality Melbourne are going to be a real prick about Petracca, and understandably so. I say prick as though it's a bad thing, but they're going to value him as one of the most valuable assets in the AFL.
But they also said he can leave.
Yeah.
I reckon
Yeah,
that would have
they
been a
did, didn't they?
mutual decision. Yeah.
Yeah, I know no club ever says like we want you to leave. It's sort of like you can explore your options and we'll see what we can get. But because it is Gold Coast, as much as I did say that, that's me objectively rating the two players and their age bracket and stuff like that. But Gold Coast, they can give more in draft capital that other clubs can't. It doesn't have the same value to them.
That's true. I suppose I don't know what their academy prospects are like next year, but Melbourne could offer them like a future sweetener, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say Bailey Humphrey's off the table and Sam Flanders is. I suppose Ben Ainsworth, do you think there's any interest from a Melbourne point of view, any value in Ben Ainsworth? You'd have to say probably yes, but you wouldn't get Ben Ainsworth and a top 10 pick. So what do you think like is the more valuable asset for Melbourne?
So I actually quite rate Ainsworth. Like I say that.
He seems like one of those players that always kicks four against your club. He's one of those types.
Yeah, probably. Like I think he's good as that sort of like powerful, nuggety, medium forward type. Like he's not a Humphrey quality with the ball. But what was the question, Jesse?
How seriously should Melbourne consider him as a genuine trade asset for Petracca when they could potentially get like pick 7 and maybe some change as well?
Gold Coast, you mean?
From a Melbourne point of view, like would you say like, okay, Gold Coast, you have pick 7, give us that, or would you be like, okay, now give us Ainsworth and a bit or something else?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I'd take the pick in this year's draft.
Yeah,
I'd take the pick.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
it probably would be more than pick 7 on its own, I think, for Petracca.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I reckon there's so many deals. I mean, Gold Coast are going to have 7 and 8. We're calling them what they like currently are. Obviously, they get pushed back.
How different though? Like we spoke about Merritt a couple of weeks ago. Similar age to Petracca, maybe the same age.
He's a year older.
Merritt.
Yep.
Okay. And you were sort of saying that value wise, like it was okay for Essendon. How would you differentiate those? You're sort of pushing for more value with Petracca, it seems.
I think Petracca is considerable. I mean, resume up to this point, I know that post-ruptured spleen, he hasn't quite been the same, but like quite clearly a better player than Merritt. Like, yeah, I'd say like at his best, Petracca was was he ever better than Bond?
Petracca? Yeah. I don't think he was better than Bond. I agree with like absolutely prime Petracca better, but that's not actually the conversation.
That's true. It really comes down to the ruptured spleen because I think he was still an elite player right until that happened.
Yeah.
He
was.
So I think there's still more in it, and
there's definitely a world where Petracca goes to a new environment, new system, and he just thrives. And you get that sort of like, I don't know, like he's not a level of Gary Ablett Jr., but you could like put him in the forward line and he kicks like 50 goals.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
100%.
Yeah. Clayton Oliver, is he worth anything at all? We know Stephen May will probably not generate much, but Clayton Oliver.
It's hard to see that other clubs would give up much. It sort of feels like GWS are the only real suitors for him at the moment. But I think the biggest incentive for Melbourne would be take this bloke's salary off our hands because he's one of the highest paid or up there. He's getting, a lot of money.
But there's another lever they could pull, Jake. No, but there's another angle to this is if they offer to pay half of it, then they can get a better trade outcome for Oliver. So like that, like with their salary cap in the position it is, Melbourne, I don't think are too worried about paying salary if it generates a better deal for Oliver. So that would be the way that I'd advise them to play it. But I still don't think you're getting in much in the top 30 of this year's draft.
The question that I ask myself there is if you remove the cultural baggage of Clayton Oliver, which seems to be there, that's speculation, but even just on his current level as an AFL player, like where would you sit him?
His current level?
Yeah.
Like what
caliber
grade?
Is he?
Yeah. Man, in his prime, he was a freak.
Yeah.
But I said it before, watching him come out of the front of stoppages this year, like he has just shat the bed. Like he's just butchered the ball, looks panicked when he's inside. He's like lost everything that he had in his prime. So maybe, like you said, goes to a new environment and he can thrive and he can get back to that, especially if he's wearing orange. But GWS have been a club that's been good for that, like Jesse Hogan, Jake Stringer maybe to a lesser degree, but I think, he could really go reinvent himself. And if I'm GWS, you back in your culture to, take Clayton Oliver under your arm and get him back to being his best self.
Yeah, definitely turning into like a misfit school up there. Yeah, I think he's still good at the first possession stuff, but yeah, it's kind of like he's definitely lost, like, I don't know, like, not that he was a pacey guy ever, but he's like lost a bit of dynamism. It's like takeoff or something.
He used to always be first to the ball. He'd have like 40 disposals a game and just be untouchable. Like inside 1-2s, like a prime Will Ashcroft. But and could hit the scoreboard as well. He used to like be able to.
That's true.
Damage the scoreboard.
Big goal in the third quarter of that grand final too, which is the goal I think of when I think
he was
of Clayton
winning
Oliver.
all of those clearances.
Yeah.
They were going ham in there. It's such a shame with Clary, man. It just seems like sort of what led to his downfall was just vices, and now he's just trying to sort of find, like, outside of football. I just hope he can, get back to his best as a person.
Mm. I guess to finish off, well, at least all I had to say on this particular Melbourne thing was, if they do hold another top 10 pick, let's call it pick 6 or 7 in this year's draft, the Melbourne Footy Club, who do you think they would draft?
Ooh, I didn't ill prepared for this one.
That's all right. I'll quickly say something while you think about it. Big footy rumour is they love Sullivan Roby. And whether pick 6 is enough at this point, but there could be like another team that targets West Coast
Is
pick
he
2.
a bit of a Petracca type,
I was just about to say, there's your Petracca.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so that one makes perfect sense off the cuff. Could see them going for like a Jevon, someone like that as well.
Okay.
That kind of mid forward,
Yeah.
aerial threat. But yeah, no, Roby, I like that.
Yeah, that's who they're interested in. Well, according to Big Footy, big fat disclaimer on that.
Yeah, I mean, I reckon everybody's pretty interested in Sullivan Roby.
That's true. Yeah. Melbourne have shown a tendency to be really aggressive with the guys they like in the draft. Like they went a little bit early on Caleb Windsor and Colton Tholstrup. Both were sort of a little bit higher than the consensus rankings.
Yeah.
And they traded aggressively to get those picks. Like they moved 14, 27 and 35 to get up to 11. It was like a weird
Do you remember
thing.
them actually like it being reported that was definitely the guy that they were after?
No, I'm just sort of
But they
proceeding it
they
that way.
postured, because I
Yeah.
remember last year it wasn't particularly clear who they wanted.
Yeah.
They were very keen on the draft. I feel like the Sullivan Roby one's interesting because like the big bolter last year was Alex Tyree, and everybody's hot on that guy.
Yeah, true.
Even though not everybody takes him. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, like not everyone has the balls, I guess, but it's an interesting one. I reckon Roby's a good shout.
Yeah. Clayton Oliver was also the other biggest draft riser in the last decade that
Yeah,
they
he
refer
was.
to when they talk about Roby, and that was obviously a Melbourne selection. So that's quite funny.
That is very, very humorous. 347 in the chat. Are we wrapped up on Melbourne?
Yeah, unless there's anything else you guys want to add to that
No,
conversation.
That Melbourne conversation has a
Not
ribbon on
particularly.
it.
I was going to just do a quick check-in on
Yeah, any draft or trade rumors. sorry.
breaking news. It's mainly around Brody Mychek, 159 games for the Pies, 267 goals. Like, that's a massive career from him.
It is,
to come from as a mature age player.
And walking away, like if you have like 2 years left to win a flag, you'd think Collingwood would be the safer one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we do have the compo for Sam Draper. It's pick 20.
We spoke about
Yes.
that.
Okay,
that came up. Essendon fans are not happy.
Yeah.
Not happy.
Well, that's what happens when you get fed from the media and you think maybe it's band 1, then suddenly band 2 is not good enough. But
Yep.
Is Draper worth more than pick 20?
Nah. No.
Do you think he's worth less than Silvani?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
No,
But like one
I reckon
pick.
he's better than that.
Yeah.
I reckon
Do
he's
you
a
think
bit.
so?
I reckon he's a bit better than you rate him.
Yeah, I don't see it personally.
Another, I'm sort of just going through Twitter and seeing what people's opinions are at the moment, but we spoke about if Petracca goes to Gold Coast, which is looking highly likely, that sort of eliminates Curnow going to Gold Coast. So does Rowan Marshall going to Geelong. Like, that really leaves the only option is Sydney. Curnow's it's looking more likely that he's going to stay. And he has said that he's happy to stay.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to be there.
I saw a Blue Abroad post that said that Hayward was quoted as saying, I won't request a trade, because I think he tried to get to Carlton recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
But if Sydney want me to, I'll do it. I don't know where that quote's from. Seems like a very casual thing to say.
Sam Edmund was saying that on Trade Radio yesterday or whatever.
Okay. Oh, is that what it was? Yeah.
Well, he was just talking about like Hayward. Yes. When was it? I think like halfway through last year, Carlton were in a really strong position. he like toured the facility, spoke to Carlton, said he was happy to because they were giving him a better offer, and then Sydney were just like, "No, here's the offer, we'll match it." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll stay." So maybe he is open to that move. It'd be a bit of a weird one to be like, "Yeah, like, I'll help you out if you want to like fuck me off, I'll go." Like that just, I don't know if that's the mindset of Hayward. Then why would you leave Sydney for Carlton?
It's it's not really like a professional athlete speak, is it?
No,
It's weird. Like, yeah, like,
use me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a weird one. I do think that Curnow would be, I mean, it's a clear thing to say, but like he'd be a lot better for Sydney than Hayward, as much as I think Hayward's
would he though? Would he?
You serious?
Hayward's pretty solid piece in that Sydney side.
No, but Charlie Curnow.
Yeah, but
Yeah, exactly.
No.
You actually just said it yourself. He's a pretty solid piece.
Yeah.
yeah, but there's no guarantees that Curnow's going to be there and go there and be the same player that
He's
he is.
exactly what they need, though.
Yeah,
It's
he's
not even.
the two like last year and the year before's version of Charlie Curnow is exactly what they need. But could he back it up if he went to another club? It's a bit of a
Why not?
More so than Will Hayward going to Carlton.
Yeah.
I mean, I reckon there's less jeopardy in Curnow than there is in Petracca finding best form. And we're talking about him like he's a massive
And
needle
I'm a
mover.
big fan of Curnow as well. I just think, Hayward, I think, finished like second or third in their BNF or something. So it
Grundy and Heaney first, second, weren't they?
might have been third then.
Yeah, okay. No, he's a good player. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. This is not about Hayward, but I think specifically, actually, when I talked about Zane Dersma before, I'm going off on a tangent here, but Zane Dersma's a very similar player to Hayward. That would be the
player comparison.
the player comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't mind
What
that.
do you got for us, Drews?
I'm trying to find the Bob Skilton medal tally.
While
Surely
you-
we'll get some Sydney fans in
While you
here.
do this, I'm just going to take another leak. I drink a big iced coffee before I come here every time, and it's just
It happens.
some light chit chat, and then maybe we'll talk about what the Eagles can do.
Swans need, Matt Scott Malcolm
Oh
says.
no, he didn't come anywhere in the top 10. Never mind. Trade him. Get rid. I think he did kick a reasonable tally this year though. Maybe.
Yeah, like he's had good seasons. I wasn't like writing off his 2025 either, but I mean they had as a club outside of Grundy and Heaney. I don't.
Oh yeah, he did have a drop off this year actually. 41 goals he kicked last year. I might have been thinking of last year.
I reckon you were thinking of last year. Yeah, I mean they obviously were much better form as a team.
I just think like pieces that have been in your puzzle for a while are important. Like we were talking about Starcevic and Archie earlier on.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, maybe you are better off if you get Curnow in and you lose Hayward, but as a cultural piece, I don't know.
yeah, I get you. I do think there's also the you can make the mistake of not wanting to change as well.
Yeah, that's true.
which can leave you stagnant. So it's 50-50, clearly a balance. I know that's a sitting on the fence thing to say.
Yeah.
Most people just saying in the chat they had no key forwards. And I think that's the thing. Like Hayward gives you, like Hayward's the kind of player that you need in an already good system. So
Yeah.
if you're really struggling with something, he's not going to be the guy, as you say, like the beacon sort of player. Whereas Curnow can be. And I feel Sydney's overall lack of quality tools, like Curnow the first thing that he does, which is really helpful, is just like push one of those guys out. So you have like one less shit player on the field.
Yeah.
He comes in and
Logan McDonald or...
you only have to play one other of those guys and then they don't get as exposed.
Yeah. I feel like Will Hayward's the type of player that's the hardest to find in your forward line ever, I reckon. I reckon key forwards are... Like, I'm not saying Curnow versus Hayward, but that like complementary forward is a hard piece to find.
I don't think it has to be a Hayward type though anymore. I think like teams are a little bit moving towards
Like a mid forward or something.
like like I've talked about it a bit. Like Bailey Fritsch is another one. I think that player's like on the decline a bit.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think at the moment, like the biggest thing in vogue is like those key forwards that can run really well, like really, really big work rate. Not even necessarily like technically the most like clean markers, but if they can like crash packs, create chaos, like they're the ones that they want.
Yeah.
And just get to everything.
All right, where are we going? West Coast or Tassie?
We're going to move to your favourite topic, the West Coast Eagles, Andrew, because we are, taking team-focused segments where we can, and we're going to talk about a team that is going to be a major player, more so in the draft, but also very active in the trade space. And they're an interesting whenever there's a team that's that far behind the competition, they're always an interesting list case study because you think, oh, how would I rebuild this side? Like, what do they need to do to improve? And to their credit, West Coast are trying very hard, so that they're at least not sitting on their hands. So there's been 3 trade requests to the Eagles over the last couple of days. Brandon Starcevich, Devon Robertson, and Tyler Young. We know that Campbell Chesser and Liam Ryan have also requested trades to leave. Their current picks are 1, 2, and what will likely become 18, 23, 24, 38. That's me adding in a couple of the compensation picks, which are not like officially found in any draft order just yet, I don't think. But they've also been given a priority pick, which is likely to become about 23, but is currently pick 19. We're not sure if compo picks will be awarded after West Coast's, like if they're band 2, are they after West Coast, are they before West Coast? We don't have confirmation on that. I think we're likely to assume they probably come after, to be honest. Let's start with the priority pick, because this is a very contentious topic for many, and West Coast have been awarded, if you want to call it that, been given a priority assistance package, which includes that pick 19, and it also includes 4 rookie list spots that West Coast have then said that they're likely to use for established players who cannot get, there might be VFL players like a Dev Robinson's example. Finley McRae, that's broken apparently since we started recording this stream. West Coast have met with him. But let's start with the idea that the AFL gave West Coast this assistance. I know my views, but I want to hear it from you guys.
Drews, you probably got the strongest opinion on this.
Let's hear it.
Sorry, I just tuned out there, to be honest.
What are your thoughts on the Eagles getting a priority pick?
Yeah, probably needed.
Oh, okay.
I've actually really not got much of an opinion on this.
Sorry, I thought you were going to be the opposite, because I was going to come in and say the same. Like I actually do think, as a supporter of a club that's also in this situation, has been in this situation, it's really, really difficult to get yourself out of these situations. And as much as everyone will throw the shade at you that you got there yourself, which you did, but every team that's been in that situation, like I don't hear like Richmond fans now apologising for them doing it. Back in the day, they got priority picks. Collingwood got priority picks. Hawthorn got priority picks.
I'm just glad it wasn't like a top 10, because isn't that what Gold Coast got when they
Gold
got
Coast,
Rowland Anderson?
They got pick 2.
Yeah. So like when it's that, I feel like it's a bit OP. But yeah, pick 19 in a draft like this, it seems fair.
As a side note, that pick 19 is likely to be traded to a club that has a bid. So in reality, that's probably just going to get absorbed. What it does help is West Coast move up the draft order. But it actually doesn't necessarily.
Do you have to trade it?
No, we don't.
So we did.
Yeah,
Melbourne got given 2 end of first rounders that we had to trade. So that differs a little bit.
Didn't you have 3 all up though? Because it's Tucker, Logue, and Stevens and Fisher.
I thought we got Fisher and Stevens.
But what about Logan Tucker? I thought they were similar.
Maybe we got it 2 years in a row.
Yeah, you might have done. So yeah, for clarity, West Coast only has one of those picks, and it doesn't necessarily have to be traded. I do think what's likely happened is West Coast have been in constant conversation with the AFL about what they're going to do with it. And the previous assumption was that it would go for Starcevich. I don't think that's likely to be true anymore based on the talk around his concussion stuff. But I think what it will happen, I think West Coast have, in fact, Don Pike did say it. He speculated about potentially trading it up with Hawthorn's pick to get back into the top 10. So we know that West Coast do have an ambition to trade up with one of these clubs. We know that there will be a few clubs trading down. Gold Coast would be a natural target because of their academy situation, although it's messy with the Petracca situation there. Essendon have been talked about trading up rather. That probably doesn't apply here, but Carlton also have their pick, which needs to be traded. Yep. And Sydney have a pick if they don't get Kerno.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like the picks that are majorly on the table here, Gold Coast's pick 6, but that's probably going to get moved around for Petracca.
You'd think so.
Somebody like
that. But they'll
that.
get one from St Kilda as well.
One for, pick 7, of course. So the 6 and 7, likely to move. 9 and 10.
Yep.
They are almost guaranteed to move. And then Gold Coast's pick 14, probably for points.
Yeah, it could be packaged in a bigger deal as well with more points.
So give us a theoretic. We've kind of gone over like whether they should have got a compensation pick. Like it's kind of neither here nor there. What is their draft hand probably going to look like in your opinion?
Well, if we assume that 18, which is Hawthorn's pick after, and I'm adding in a compo pick there. Let's say it's 18 and 23.
So, because I've got 16. Not
Yeah,
18.
so 18 gets pushed back because of a Draper and
Yeah, okay.
so not Draper, TDK's Pickens in there. So it's Oscar Allen hasn't been added though.
No.
So maybe it's 17. We'll call it 17. And to be fair, where it actually ends up does matter from a points point of view. But
Yes.
I would imagine that 2 to 3 of those picks get packaged up and we would target Gold Coast pick there. And I also think West Coast should explore trading 1 or 2 down to get 2 picks from Essendon, which would then generate 4 picks in the top 12. That's probably my ideal scenario.
What does that look like?
Let's say they do a deal with Gold Coast and they do a deal with Essendon, which is hypothetical and Essendon may not be interested in that. But what that would look like is, let's call it pick 2. Let's say we traded Dersma to Essendon.
And pick 2 goes over here.
Yeah. We've got pick 2, we've got 5, we've got 6, and we've got potentially pick, what's Gold Coast now? It's 6. Let's call it 8.
Yep.
Well, it gets messy because I don't know which pick we'll get. Maybe it could be 9.
Yep. So 2, 5, 6,
and 9. Yeah, that's
instead
roughly
of 1, 2,
18, 23, 24, 38.
I feel like that's massively favourable for you guys.
So I guess to break it down into 2 things. Obviously, the trading up to Gold Coast is probably a no-brainer, but the trade down with Essendon gets us 5 and 6, and we would not get Willem Dersma in that scenario.
But for reference, 2, 5, 6, and 9, like particularly 6 and 9, 5, 6, and 9 are going to get pushed back slightly as well when you throw in.
Oh, that's
and
true.
Patterson.
Yeah.
So that it'll sit a little bit back from that. But
Yeah.
what would you like to see? So that's your ideal scenario, and who would you like to take?
That's a tough one. At pick 2, you're going to assume that Dersma's off the table, and then you'd be looking at guys like potentially Cooper Duff-Tytler, which I think becomes a little bit more attractive. He's a player that I've moved away from, but if we have 4 picks in the 9, then that changes the equation for me.
I would say that he's the guarantee if you had 4 picks in there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to, wouldn't you?
I think unless West Coast has a real soft spot for Sullivan Roby, which the reason I go there is because he's the only player
You
there.
reckon Richmond will take him in between?
I do think Richmond would.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, as it currently
I think
sits.
so too.
Yeah, so you'd have to go CDT, or those are the 2 players that you'd need to take at pick 2.
I think, yeah.
Whereas Dyson Sharp, you can probably get at 5 if you wanted him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go CDT or Roby, and then depending on who we went that first pick, like if we get Roby, then you don't go Sharp probably. So 5, 6, and 9, I'd be looking at like.
Oh, I don't know. I actually wouldn't agree that Roby and Sharp are like.
No, they're not like for like.
Absolute like for like.
They're not like for like. You're right. Maybe we could go both, but then I think you're looking at. I reckon one of these could be a tall. You could say Xavier Taylor.
You could,
because when you have 4 picks, suddenly then your list needs become a little bit more like you can target both. You can go best available and needs, if that makes sense.
I would have said though that if you took Dyson Sharp and you were going to take a tall, you'd probably take one of those SA boys.
I was thinking Schubert.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a pressing need for a key position forward, but Mitch Marsh would be another contender, I would have thought. Marshall, Schubert. Would you agree? Is there anyone else you'd throw into that mix?
Yes. I mean, I would say it's probably a little bit too high, but I reckon Threadgold is like starting to come pretty high. Like I reckon if somebody's really hot on him, I could see him being that guy that comes into the top 15, top 10 calculations. The only thing is, you mentioned Xavier Taylor. Like I feel like Xavier Taylor, it's very obvious to see what he's going to be at AFL level. Like clear role. That offensive sort of, he's locked down, but he's also an offensive defender. And he just plays that week in, week out really well, super consistent. We're both of Schubert and Marsh if you went down that road, which I don't think the Eagles would take Marsh.
Yeah, I think Schubert seems more like a West Coast pick than Marsh.
Yeah. You've got a lot of those like medium tall types, don't you? Like Hutchinson and...
Yeah, it depends how we play Hutchinson, but yeah, I suppose so.
Even sort of... Not the same player, but like Bo Allen is kind of a little bit like that athletic sort of...
Yeah. I'd imagine he doesn't play forward though.
No.
Yeah.
But I don't think Marsh is necessarily a forward.
Okay.
I see Marsh as potentially having a Dan Curtin-esque introduction. He's a little bit shorter, but he's like that. He's a running tall.
Yeah. Okay.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Schubert is more of a like genuine key position height, but he's also a little bit of a utility as well. So like what I'm saying is there with the Xavier Taylor one, Xavier Taylor, it's like, yep, plug and play. Like we know what he's going to be. The other two, it's a bit like they're ambiguous tools.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So interesting one. But I could see if you went for a Dyson Sharp, I could see you pairing the SA boys. I think that would be clear.
Yeah. I'll throw two other names in.
Yep.
And I know that probably gives us like 5 players, but we'll go with these two. Josh Lindsay, I think West Coast would love.
Yep.
And then I also think Lockie Doverston is a great fit for West Coast. And 9 is probably a little bit earlier than people were expecting, but there's still a little bit to play out between now and the draft. And I don't think he'd be the wildest bolter to pick 9.
Not the wildest. I feel like that would be unlikely for you. Like if you guys were able to get, as much as you could speculate a little bit, I don't think West Coast can play like they're not using house money as much as say Richmond were last year. You know what I mean? To go for a real reach.
Do you think that's a big reach though?
Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's not. It's not too much of a reach. He's probably around 10 to 15.
Yeah. I like the Thread Gold call, by the way, because I think we need
Gold.
him. We need a defender of that quality more than we need a forward of similar quality. In terms of our list position. So if you think the talent is even, it'd probably go.
He just looks like an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. You know when you just see those guys and they just look so when they're intercept marking, like they just look so sure. They can play one-on-one, and then what he provides offensively, I think, is awesome. So. Yeah, he's coming, but I'm sure clubs will be all over him.
I just want to roll through some comments here. We got a dono from Lewis. You sort of answered this, but should West Coast trade picks 1 and 2 for late first, second, and future picks? Supposedly next year's draft is much stronger, and West Coast need mature bodies through the door now.
I think West Coast need to act now. I don't think there's too much we should be doing to push our solutions into the future, kick the can down the road. I think that if you can find value and say move 2 down, stay in the top 10 and get something else in the future, that's probably right. But I certainly wouldn't be trading both picks and, not moving too much into the future. I think there's an impetus on West Coast to try and improve now. And the draft, if obviously they're not going to come in and fix the team immediately, but it still delays that gratification by 12 months, which I don't think is right for us right now.
I want to roll through some of these comments. West Coast made the list mistake since 2018 flag and got rewarded for it. Quick thought on that?
Yeah, I can respond to that. I get that point of view, I actually do. But at the same time, the rule exists. And as long as the rule exists, you then have to think, okay, in what scenario does the rule need to be applied? And I think West Coast has hit that point.
Eagles need to bring some good experience in. When their best players retire in a few years, they will be exposed, if they aren't already.
Yeah. I mean, that's true of many clubs, particularly with us. Yes, absolutely. The experience. But I mean, look, we've had 3 trade requests to us, a 26-year-old, a 27-year-old, and a 23-year-old. I don't know how to have a 23? Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, I think West Coast knows that after getting Baker, Graham, and Owies last year. So.
And Brenton Sharp, is there a way to draft our NGA guys to the rookie list? If they are bid on, can you move someone from the senior list to the rookie list? And that was a dono from Brenton, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those donations. You can move someone. I'm not sure exactly the rules of. I think you might have to delist them and re-rookie them. Oh, maybe not.
Have you guys been? Because I don't think you can do that.
I was separating NGA from just general list players, but yes.
Because if somebody bid on them, you'd have to select them,
correct,
like a draft pick.
You can't then put them on the rookie list. No. Yeah, that's right. So I reckon there's a good chance none of the NGA guys get bid on. Would you agree with that?
Banfield?
No, he's father's son.
Of course he is. Yeah.
So he would be national.
Yep.
But NGA's would be Kobe Evans, Wes Wally, Tyler Williams would be the main.
Where's
3.
Wally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
the guy with the spectacles.
I think Kobe Evans is a chance, but yeah, I'd sort of agree. Like they're going to be late.
Yeah.
I don't think, and those late guys, like unless someone sees something like really strong in them, they don't tend to bother.
Yeah.
I feel.
But what you could do, so putting aside the NGA thing, what you can do is put Tom Cole or Jamie Cripps on the rookie list as well.
Yeah.
They've been given contracts. I think you might have to like formally redraft them. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it does happen.
Yeah. It would be I feel like that would be a fairly big hack of the system, being able to do that.
It does happen a lot though. Yeah, I don't have any examples to mind, but like there's been tons of players who've been delisted and re-rookied. Like your fringe players who want to get another opportunity. I think maybe Hutchings we did that with late in his career, but it wasn't just us.
Who's Hutchings?
Mark Hutchings.
Oh, okay.
Tagger in 2018 Premiership team. We'll just get back to
the singer of In Excess's name?
Michael Hutchins.
Michael Hutchins, yeah.
Yeah.
Tangent.
Yeah. So I suppose we actually didn't really comment just quickly on Starcevich, Robertson and Young. To what extent do you think West Coast are doing the right thing getting these three players? And maybe we can talk about Starcevich's concussion history as well, because this has a real potential to blow up in West Coast's face if West Coast spend big. I'm not too worried about the salary, but if West Coast traded a lot for Starcevich, let's call it pick 19, which is a first rounder, and that's not nothing. And he then has to have he is then another concussion retirement that West Coast we've had 4 recently. Do you think West Coast should really? Well, what do you think West Coast should offer? I suppose
Starcevich's best is that pick 19. That is a fair pick, but like you said, you've had Venables, Shepherd, McGovern,
and Edwards was the other one.
There you go. So how many times AFL is a game where you're going to cop a head knock from time to time, and when you have history of it, it is a risk that you're taking with Starcevich. You sort of said that you don't. Sorry to cut you off, Dylan. But you don't really care about the money that you're going to offer him because you're sort of in a bit of a weird spot at the moment. So it's like that money's got to go somewhere. Get in an experienced 2-time premiership player. But it is a big risk that you're taking. If you get his best, great. But how many more head knocks can he take before he has to retire? And that pick turns into nothing.
Other side of the coin, West Coast should be the best because of all of the concussions that they've had. They should be one of the best placed teams to actually understand.
You got head knocks
and the risks.
Come to West Coast.
Well, you know what I mean? They should be able to assess it better than anybody else, given that they've had to deal with it more.
That's true.
I think West Coast. So Don Park's comments really strongly indicated when they're not willing to trade the priority pick for Starcevich. But I think part of that situation as well, Brisbane need points, so they could actually probably benefit more from a bunch of later picks for Robertson and Starcevich together than say pick 19, it's all the same to them, if that makes sense. So
I've got you. I'm just thinking about the picks because they've obviously brought that in this year as well. So you can't use lots of later picks.
Oh, does that apply this year?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I don't know the specifics of that.
All it is you used to be able to stack pretty much any pick was awarded points.
Yeah.
And you could stack any, and they've just brought that in a little bit. So I can't remember the exact.
I think 54 is the diminishing pick point. At the point at which the draft they have 0 points is 54.
So it is 54. Yeah.
So, but I think there's no limit on how many picks you can combine.
Could have comment
it might be.
But I think it's to do with list spots that you have prior to the draft.
Sure.
Yeah.
So West Coast could feasibly you could offer 36, 55, 22. They'll be pushing back a bit, won't they?
Yeah, they would.
Got a comment from B-Dub. Eagles are a more courageous club, hence more head injuries. It happens with the gutsy teams.
Well said. Well said.
That was the best comment.
Dog shit.
That was the best comment I've ever seen.
Good on you, B-Dub. So how many more head knocks? Is there?
I don't know. We're not privy to this and we never will be. But I think it's a live
bunch of hard
consideration. Yeah.
But if
we're tough.
If I can't think of anyone else who's Gus Brayshaw's another one. There must be a threshold of how many times. I don't know how they measure it.
Oh, McGovern had 17 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
There'd be concussions and then it would be symptoms, I imagine.
Yeah. Okay. Because Aiden O'Driscoll didn't even get to play a game.
That's true. Yeah.
One head knock.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Tyler Young might be the one I'm most excited about. Not because he's necessarily an established star, obviously, but I think a position of need, clear best 22, could come in and I think form a really underrated combo with Harry Edwards, two up-and-coming key backs. So
yeah,
I think that's really
he's
promising.
the jewel in the crown, if you want to call it that.
Absolutely.
Why is that funny?
It just sounds like a bit of a shot at West Coast. Yeah. A jewel in the crown, if you want to call it
that. I didn't mean it like that, to be honest.
No, it just
I guess Starcevich is the most renowned player of that group, but yeah, he's a little bit trickier. The one that seems a little bit of a, I don't know, desperation, if you want to call it that, is Devon Robertson. I don't love those sort of picks, but
we need more midfielders by quantity and quality as well. So I kind of get it, and he seems like he's, a pretty good trainer and culturally would be a good fit. I
Matt
don't think
McCann.
it's going to really improve the team that much, but we do need midfielders. Like we had Tyler Brockman taking serious minutes this year.
Yeah, Matt McCann made a good point before. Like, even if it doesn't improve your AFL side, it gives you depth in your waffle team, which is also dreadful.
100%.
What's so like? Let's go through your mids just quickly.
Yeah.
Harley Reid.
Yeah.
Elijah Hewitt.
Yeah.
Yo.
Elliot Yeo.
There's some doubt that he plays midfield next year, but hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
Obviously the running thing is a big
Kelly.
deal there. Tim Kelly, that's 4.
Kelly got relegated to the forward flank for the most of this year. He
but
came back.
He's still midfield depth, right?
He's depth, but I imagine plan A is to not play him there next year.
Sure.
Unless we have to.
You've got Tom Gross.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Clay Hall.
Yeah.
You've got
You could probably say Jack Graham. We've got a lot of part-time midfielders.
Hamish
And
Davis.
Graham, pretty exclusively on the wing.
How much fucking midfield depth do you need?
I would say that Devon Robertson is clearly better than Clay Hall and Tom Gross.
That's the question. That's the question.
I'd say he's clearly better than those two.
Okay.
And, it's a low bar. Hopefully Tom Gross comes good, but very speculative at this point. Graham chops and changes through there, as does Tyler Brockman, but these guys aren't like proper midfield solutions, and we are also still a diabolical clearance team.
I get you, but if you'd say use one of the best teams in the competition as an example, like Geelong, I wouldn't say every one of their midfielders is only a midfielder as well. You're kind of, same Hamish Davis is kind of a mid forward. They're flexible, but it doesn't mean they're not midfielders.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
But I mean, Hewitt still only spent 50% time on ball this year.
Yeah.
He's not quite ready for that full-time
midfield
role, which is part of it as well.
Yeah. It's just an interesting one.
Baker spent a fair bit of time there as well. These guys are better in other positions.
The list thing obviously helps because you get those spots and you can just have a bit of a look at them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd find it incredibly unlikely if Devon Robertson and Finn McRae, if they do come to West Coast, very unlikely that they end up in your team long term.
No, agreed. Yeah. So I wouldn't have been too devastated if neither of those happened, obviously. But
Sure.
Dev, I think I'd be lying if I said we couldn't use a player like that, to be honest.
Gross looked pretty good this year.
Yeah, I guess with Gross, I'm a little worried that about his composure. He's very erratic and gets the ball, and he has some great AFL traits.
Are we talking the moment that's standing out to me here is the chase down tackle?
But it wasn't isolated to that.
No,
it really wasn't. And he's a little bit of a get ball and hack it kind of kid.
Yeah.
So, but then again, he can easily improve that. But still very speculative.
Sure.
So just to summarize on the Eagles and the rookie list spots, just to point on how they'll use them. Some players that they've been linked to, Don Pike came out and said, this rookie list thing gives us the opportunity to go for mid-range guys who are good AFL footballers but found themselves off the list. Might be too good for Waffle VFL, but not quite at that AFL standard. That's how they're going to help put pressure on spots and I suppose drive some competition, which West Coast desperately needs. And he highlighted the midfield. So to go through some names, Tom Blamires. Do you know much about Tom Blamires in the Waffle?
I've heard of
the
his
VFL,
name, but I've never seen him play.
Okay, Milan Murdoch, he's from Anna. We nearly picked him in the mid-season draft. We ended up going Jacob Newton. We've been linked to Tom Berry as well, presumably for this rookie list. Devon Robertson. Robertson would probably get traded to the main list. You could then say someone like a Parfit could also fit this mold. I'm not saying 4 of the same types of player, but these are all names of this ilk. And then you could also look at the NGA guys. If they don't get bid on, they could also assume spots on this rookie list. So
Evans is pretty highly rated.
Yeah, just been injured a lot. So this is why I suspect maybe no one bids on him. But I'm quietly optimistic.
Yeah.
I think him and Banfield are 2 very underrated WA players that we might be able to actually
and
benefit
I think
from.
as well, the focus this year and the next couple of years is going to be on bidding on Gold Coast and Brisbane academy players, not West Coast.
Yeah, slipped through the cracks a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. That's probably all I got for that.
We
What's the
had
chat saying?
another dono from the Birdman.
I'm going to go to the bathroom while
Yeah,
you do that.
sure.
If you were Richmond, who would you target in the next little bit? Thanks for the donation, Birdman.
In the future. So that question's not necessarily limited to this draft. There has been some suggestion that Richmond will trade down one of their picks into the future. So trade 3 down to something in the top 15 and strengthen their 2026 hand. So that makes it a little bit harder to speculate on who they'll take in the draft. Roby is one that their fans are really into. as for who else in the top 15, that really opens up. But I would say that Richmond's focus at the moment would pretty much be draft. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're like, okay, if a Bailey Humphrey says, no, I want to play for the Tigers next year, like they probably do enter that conversation, I would say.
Yeah.
But under 24 talent, absolutely. But other than that, I think, probably keeping a draft focus, and they have enough established players that they don't need to be going for like a Devon Robertson equivalent or
Richmond
a
will
Finn
draft Sam Grill. I'm almost certain of it.
Okay. We were just speculating about because they've been linked to a move down the order and then into the future. So they could trade down and get Grill, but I wouldn't have thought with pick 3 or 4.
I think they could.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think they'd do it. Given they're one of the teams in that, again, like luxurious position because of how many picks they had last year. I think a bit different to West Coast. They can speculate more, and different to Essendon as well.
Yeah.
So I think they can go for needs a little bit. We've also talked about it with them. They've sort of got those elder statesmen in the team, like in the midfield as well, that can kind of win the ball for them.
Yeah.
So they don't have to have such a reliance on younger players coming in. Like there's
Exactly.
I see like really no need for them to draft someone like a Dyson Sharp, for example.
Yeah.
Oliver Greaves, the type of player like that, the Annabelle kind of type as well, but even though he's linked to Brisbane. But yeah, I'd say like Grill, they'd be pretty keen to get someone like a Doveston, I reckon, as a small forward. They need a small forward pretty badly.
True.
Cooper Duff-Tytler is an interesting one. And if they are really hot on Roby, that's like another one that could change that a little bit. But I feel like
fans hate any suggestion that they'll get CDT.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Maybe it's similar to West Coast. I don't know. Just probably because it's speculative. But I mean, I suppose Richmond also drafted like 4 talls last year, one of whom is a forward ruck. I do think CDT is quite clearly different to those guys, but
yeah. So Sims was the forward ruck that they drafted last year.
Yeah.
I mean, Duff-Tytler's like the quality there's a pretty big difference in quality there.
Yeah. But I mean, if he is a forward primarily, if he develops that way,
if he develops,
then it
forward.
becomes a glut.
But again, like we're talking about this, like ruck rule changes and stuff like that, and the running and jumping at the ball, that only elevates him as a ruck, in my opinion. I know.
Yeah.
People talk about him not being. People always say like, yeah, he's not even fully developed as a ruck. Like, who is at 18, 17?
That's
what
true.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
Nobody is.
Fair.
But yeah. I'm just trying to find those combine. He ran a really good combine yesterday. 2K time trial.
Sub 6 minutes, I heard.
Not quite.
Yeah.
What do we? I've actually his Jasper Chelop's got some times. Jack Dalton 5:53. Darcy Wilson territory. He says Dersma was 6:19. Duff-Tytler 6:21. That's a great 2K time trial.
Yeah, that is good
for a big. Lindsay did a 6:22. I didn't think he was that fast from the eye.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting.
Angus asked, does Sullivan Roby make sense for Richmond given they've drafted Lawler and Smiley?
I was thinking that. I was thinking like he could be a similar type to like a Smiley or a similar size.
I think more Lawler than Smiley.
He's more Lawler.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's like the mid forward. Smiley's more the like
Greaves.
Just yeah, like that. So I don't think they would get another. I don't think you'd get another Smiley type. You could get another Lawler type though because of the extra bit of versatility.
You're getting 2 Sam Lawlers, you don't have an issue.
It's kind of like getting, you know what I mean? It's like it's getting 2 Christian Petraccas as
Yeah.
opposed to 2 Clayton Olivers.
Yeah.
On some level.
Those X Factor mids.
Yeah. Sullivan Roby's kind of thrown a bit of a spanner in the works too because he's been such a bolter.
Love a bolter.
Yeah.
Noah.
I was trying to find his 2K time trial, but it's not up here. I'll find that out tomorrow. I'm going to get some content in the draft coming out pretty soon too.
Yeah. Cool.
Should we go to the next segment?
Yeah, should we go to Tassie?
Tassie?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Tasmania.
Flights to Hobart.
This was a big news story during the week. The slew of draft picks that Tasmania have been handed ahead of the 2028 season. So I'll kind of go into this here. 2027 National Draft will be the first draft that the Devils are in. They will receive picks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13.
Is that it?
Sorry?
Is that it?
In 2027?
I'm joking.
It's
a Worcester fix.
But 5, 7, 11, and 13 have to be traded.
See.
But they can be rolled forward for up to 2 years.
That's good. That gives them the flexibility. So my understanding is that if they can't find suitable players for these trades. Like, a team couldn't say, "Oh, give us pick 5 for Jaisa Wrong from Freemantle." Like a team can't exploit them that way. They can roll it forward, which I think helps their flexibility.
Correct. So this is probably the biggest divergence from the Gold Coast and GWS models. The Giants took 11 of the first 14 players in 2011, and I think the Gold Coast took 7 of the first 11 in their first season. So they took all of the picks.
Yeah.
And not the players. So that changes a little bit. And then leaning into that is the extra salary cap that they have been given.
Yeah.
This Tasmanian team, they will have $5 million to work with outside the salary cap. I'm not 100% sure the time period that salary covers.
First 2 years, it says.
First 2 years.
We're talking about the sign-on bonus.
Sign-on bonus.
Sorry, is that different to what you were saying about the expanded salary cap?
No, that's it. So the Devils will have access to a $5 million sign-on bonus fund to sit outside the salary cap and be used within their first 2 years.
Nice.
So there it is.
Yeah.
A maximum of $3 million can be spent in either year.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Very, very interesting. So that is going to give them the ability to go after some big fish. That's why most players are kind of leaving their contracts open around that year, right?
Yeah.
So they can sort of look to get a little bit money in the door.
Yeah, it'll either help them get a bigger contract with their existing club or obviously move to Tasmania.
Yes, for sure. 2028, 2029 national drafts, they'll also get some extra picks as well. And as I said, they can roll those 2027 ones forward a little bit. The list size will be flexible with up to 48 players over the first years 2, 3 and 4. Existing AFL talent, the Devils will be able to sign up to 18 out-of-contract AFL players across their first 2 years. And priority access, I found this a really interesting part of this. The Devils will have priority access to players as father-sons if their father was born in Tasmania and played at least 100 AFL games.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anyone come to mind?
Nick Rewalt.
Jack Rewalt.
Jack Rewalt.
Yeah. I guess those. Yeah.
Richo.
Yeah. My mind went to Richo first and I was like, there's got to be someone younger than
Pierce.
Alistair Lynch. Alex Pearce.
Yeah.
I don't think Richo have kids.
He's got kids.
He's got kids.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm almost certain of that. So there's some big things here.
Where to start?
How? What'd you say?
I said, where to start?
There's
a lot to go through.
So what would you guys say about the salary element of this and being able to pay players? How do you think the Devils should approach this?
I think that clearly the AFL, the entire framework of this is built around trying to get Tasmania more competitive quicker than say even a GWS took 5 years. I reckon they played finals in 16 after debuting in 11,
which is pretty good.
That is actually really good. So they're trying to at least emulate that. I think there's also the probable factor here that in theory it's probably going to be harder for Tassie to get players to come play for Tassie and live in Tasmania. No disrespect to the state, but we're talking about elite athletes here who probably want to live in bigger cities generally. Obviously, it's generalising. Versus a Sydney.
Except for Geelong.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, it might be the opposite, but, let's say, they had a Harley Reid living in Hobart. I just don't know. Or maybe that's a bad example because Harley is staying loyal, but I'm sure there's tons of examples of players who would probably just love to live in Melbourne and Sydney and be a big time AFL player. So as a result, this is obviously adding that incentive in. How should they use it? I think that if you look at the GWS and Gold Coast models, I don't have the data in front of me, but the distinction between them was that Gold Coast went for older players for a start and players in their prime. So they obviously went for Gaz, they spent a larger portion of that salary on Gary Ablett Jr. Then they added Jared Brennan and Rischitelli and Gunston and not Gunston and Bock.
See, I reckon I remember the two biggest ones from early on was obviously no bigger than Gary Ablett, but then the other one was Bock.
Yeah, Nathan Bock. That's
Nathan
right.
Bock, centre half back. It probably doesn't sound like a big name.
Where did they get him from?
Adelaide.
Yeah,
he was the best centre half back in the comp.
Yeah, he was a good
when
player.
We used to talk about players as centre half back and full back.
Yeah, that's
he was
right.
he was all Australian. He was a superstar. So they kind of went for both of those. I feel like the biggest distinction between the Giants and the Gold Coast is the Giants went more
younger, right?
They went younger and they went older players for less salary.
Yeah.
So cheaper guys, Chad Corns,
Dean Brogan, Luke Power.
You threw me there with Dean Brogan.
Yeah.
Luke Power.
Phil Davies.
James McDonald.
No, Phil Davis.
Phil Davis was young.
He was more of a young
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and then they recruited, like, you're right though, Druzy, in the sense that they went for younger, talented players, but not established stars already. Callum Ward.
Yeah.
Phil Davis.
Yeah.
Tom Scully.
Yeah.
Mind you, Scully probably won.
He was big money,
He was
wasn't
big money.
Big
yeah.
money. I reckon the biggest one that they went for in their prime was Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, that was a
Western
little bit
Bulldogs
later
captain.
on.
Bit later.
Later
He
on,
was
yeah.
some cousin of Peter.
Yeah, so they didn't, and you would have to say that the Giants did it a little better.
Well, wasn't the
yeah,
narrative
no
around
doubt.
Gold Coast that they gave too much money to young stars? That they're like, send them up to the Gold Coast. A lot of like young players had money that they'd never had before. And then
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of a little bit further down the track when Gold Coast would pay their players, like the draftees, they'd give them an immediate like extension and flesh out like massive 4-year contracts to keep them. And then at the end of those contracts, those players left.
Yeah.
Or left partway through. You're like,
Also, I think Gold Coast in their build, they gave absolutely no thought to personality types, the different people that would be making like social groups in their club. Like I remember back to, they used to say that there was like a church group, which was like Gary Ablett and a larger, like this sort of religious group that was in the club. And then there was like this sort of like drugs group, and they didn't even sort of like each other. There was like, stuff like that, which is clearly not ideal at a football club.
the strength of the draft was probably also a factor between these two clubs. Mind you, Gold Coast got Swallow Benell Day.
Strength? You mean year by year strength of the draft?
Yeah. And I think Gold Coast draft was probably also compromised by pre-listed GWS players as well, which is another factor.
Do you reckon that hurt them? I didn't think of that.
Presumably. I'm forgetting exactly who the pre-listed players were for GWS, but I reckon Treloar. Treloar wasn't. I'm going to get that mixed up a little bit here, so I won't go down further that.
From a strategic point of view for Tasmania, I think the biggest difference between them and these two examples is there is no need for Tasmania to go down the route of attracting like a big superstar player as much as it is up there.
Yeah, from a marketing point of view.
From a marketing perspective.
That's a great
they
call.
don't need to sell the game.
Yeah.
They need to sell the team.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of things that come into that, but I think partly that is like there is like a big north-south divide in Tasmania that's sort of, it's a bit socio-political, but it's played out a lot through sport. Like I remember growing up and you'd get a lot of like just innuendo from your parents and stuff about like, oh, the north, we're more hardworking and stuff like that. Just
Eagles players are tougher.
Yeah, Eagles players are tougher, that sort of thing. But like, yeah, the north of the state sort of tended to produce like better footballers, but the south of the state obviously has a lot more money. It's based around Hobart. So it's, and even if you look at the state to today, you've got like the north is declining population and the south is rapidly exploding.
There you go.
Like that is sort of what it looks like. So what that means for the football team is they need to connect everyone, and they're going to obviously have to do that through the team. So I feel like it needs to have, the team has to sort of have that hardworking identity built into it to make the north feel included. Obviously everything is like based around the capital in the south. So that's sort of my take on it. I feel like they don't want to go too heavily here on like, you laughed at it before in my notes, Druzy, but like Galactico signings.
Talk to me about this. I want to hear you go on your Athletic Bilbao.
Well, I think Tasmania could like take a leaf out of the Athletic Bilbao. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that football club in Spain.
I am. They have Inaki Williams, who's a pacey right winger.
Oh, true.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they're from an area called the Basque Country, which is like northern Spain, southern France. Very rich cultural traditions there in the Basque Country. But they have a rule with their playing squad where it's like, I'm not suggesting Tasmania should do this exactly, but like they only have homegrown players. I think they're allowed like two. The club, this is like a club itself imposed thing. It's not the league or anything like that. They pretty much try and do everything from a homegrown perspective to kind of like reflect the ideals of the place. And I think Tasmania could go down a route like that. They're obviously not going to be able to do it that deeply because they're not going to have an academy to pull from in the same way that a soccer club is.
Yeah.
A league set up, and they're going to have to go to the draft and stuff like that. But I do think recruiting players at the start from like more so like when you're looking at a talent perspective, like rather than a big name, I think they should go for some of the guys that are in their prime or like pushing 30 that are real like have a hard-working quality. So some of the names that I looked at for players that in 2028 will be around that sort of 28, 29 age, I'd be going for someone like a Cal Wilkie, Harris Andrews, Sam Taylor, Josh Dunkley, Hugh McCluggage, that type of player.
I was going to suggest Alex Pearce, but he's 30. And
He's a Tasmanian.
He just signed like a short-term contract to that period like you were talking about before.
There you go.
So I think he'd be eyeing that up as well. He'll be pretty compromised by then.
I think he will be looking at the captaincy too, given the fact that he's the captain of you guys. But that's a big one. So I think homegrown talent is important to kind of. I think that'll be like big for grassroots football in Tassie as well. That if you can sell that, like you can get into the Tasmanian team. And if you have more of a shot being a Tasmanian, they can like really cultivate like an energy around it.
Can I just point out as well, the Tassie rules allow for the 18 out of contract AFL players. They can sign any out of contract player as a free agent. So they don't need to be looking at who's a free agent that's going to be out of contract in 2027. They can sign Colby McKercher, if he's out of contract, directly to the list as a free agent, and North Melbourne get a compensation pick.
Wow.
That was also true of the other two expansion clubs, but that's another factor to consider. That
So who are the best Tasmanians in the comp right now? Question without
I'm going to
notice.
look at your notes.
That's hard not to look at.
I don't rank them in my list. The ones that were obviously from 2023, we talked about Colby McKercher. Riley Sanders, another highly rated Tasmanian.
Yep.
Seth Campbell was another one that comes to mind.
Ryan Mansell, Sam Banks.
Wow, a lot of Richmond flavour there.
There's always been a really strong connection with Tasmanians to Richmond.
Yeah, right, because of Richo.
Well, he is a big one.
Jack Rebold as well.
Oh, true,
The Gales were originally Tasmanian.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think of more, but there are more. There's definitely always been.
Tigers.
There's a lot of Richmond supporters in Tasmania.
Tigers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tassie Tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Someone also mentioned the chat there, reminded me of Carmichael Hunt and Israel Folau. Remember that circus, like just recruiting those players?
That was weird, wasn't it?
That was absurd.
But that's the lengths that they had to go to as non-AFL states, right? So Tasmania's not going to have that sort of a...
That's true.
An element around it.
Bring in a Hobart Hurricane.
One thing I wanted to ask about I reckon the father-son thing is a fascinating element of this, that they're going to be able to do that. This comes back into what I was saying about Tassie in general and the north-south thing, and actually the idea about playing for Tasmania as in a footballing context. Do you think that the sons of those players would actually choose Tasmania? Because I'm assuming they get a choice.
It depends where they live. Like, I presume Richo and Rewalt's kids, for example, live in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work in media. So it's possible. I mean, you're probably a good example of this. Any temptation to support Tasmania as a Tasmanian who supports North?
Yeah, like definitely. But
good way to get some success.
I do think and they might see it in the same way, but I feel... I don't know. I feel like I really embrace the idea of a Tasmanian team, but that's not necessarily how everybody feels in the state.
Yeah.
Like there is that sort of disconnect. And I think that might hurt the father-son thing if they don't do all of this right.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big reason as well. The North-South divide was why they branded as Tasmania. They'd be the only team that has the state as their name. Yeah,
exactly.
Until the NT Crocodiles come in.
Well, they're a territory, so still different category.
Come on. What's the difference between a territory and a state?
There'd be legal differences there, but I don't know exactly what. But there is a pretty big one.
True footy.
There's only the West Coast Eagles. I suppose they're a state team as well.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah, the only ones that exist in WA. So
totally.
Get out.
What else we got?
Is that it on Tassie?
No, I had another point I was going to make.
Were you?
Yeah.
I think I've kind of exhausted my questions about the Tasmanian team.
Oh, actually, I do want to mention one more thing. They have another mini draft, don't they? Is that in here?
Well, I put a section in here on like what Tasmania, those drafts obviously that are heavy in favour of Tasmania, like what that does to other rebuilding clubs. Is that what you meant?
No, but you go down that path. What do you who do you think are the most affected clubs?
Well, I guess you've really just got to look at the bottom, like who you think is going to be in the bottom six. I think the one, like you've got the usual suspects, obviously your West Coasts and your Richmonds and your North Melbournes that are down there at the moment. Like you could look at it's not necessarily my opinion, but you could look at a team like Collingwood, who are good right now, have a very aging list. Like, could they fall victim of could they get bad at the wrong time here? Fall away fast?
Oh, there's no doubt that from a purely list management perspective, they're in the most vulnerable state of any club.
There's poo in pants.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, yeah.
How many drafts are going to be compromised?
3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's another team. So in essence, the draft will never be the same. There's like another team to.
That's true. Yeah, you don't think about it like that.
Yeah, and then I suppose more free agency moves are possible, more compensation picks. It's going to kill it. But what I will point out as well, there is 4 mini draft selections. Do you remember how the mini draft worked for GWS? Gold Coast did not get this. GWS did. They got to like pre-list or like certain players in a window.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm with you.
Did Gold Coast get that with O'Meara?
No, because that was a GWS mini draft. GWS could not get O'Meara, but they could trade the rights to him. So Gold Coast gave them pick 4. O'Meara went to Gold Coast, and GWS with pick 4 picked like Matt Buntine or like something like that.
Yeah, right.
Bunty.
Yeah, he was either 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly which pick he was, but Jesse Hogan, Jack Martin, Jager O'Meara, 3 of the best WA talents all came out of that mini drafts, and to different extents had some success without a whole lot. But and Brad Crouch was the 4th.
Oh yeah.
And then Adelaide obviously traded their pick to get him. And then drafted Matt Crouch later. Yeah, drafted Matt Crouch later. So that is another factor here. I suppose tying into like how this will affect clubs. Clubs can still trade with Tasmania. And so Tasmania needing to trade picks for established players does at least allow Collingwood to cash in, as an example, on some of these trade assets that Tasmania need to pick. They need to trade pick 5 and 7 and 11 and 9 and 11 or whatever. So there is opportunities that weren't true when GWS and Gold Coast came in to get back into the draft. I will also say that while it's theoretically true that it's tough to rebuild when teams are, compromising the draft when there's expansion, West Coast won the spoon when Gold Coast entered the competition and it turned out just fine. Yeah. Also, the draft has already been compromised for a number of years now.
It's quite funny, actually. I was reading something the other day and they were talking about how it affected the other teams that were poor at the time that Gold Coast and GWS came in. And 2 of the ones that they mentioned in that were Brisbane and Melbourne, who have both won a flag since.
True.
Even though Brisbane,
yeah, right.
You could still argue there's a connection there, right? Because that was like 2010, 2011. Brisbane was spooners in 2017?
Yeah.
Their last one?
Yeah, Rayner.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah, so like it obviously did, you can't say that didn't affect them, but they have still won flags.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Got to be a bit of a rough start to life for Tasmania though, like without the stadium, like that's still up in the air. There's a lot of discussion going on around that football team. So.
While that's still hanging over their heads, like I feel like there'll be a level of toxicity
100%
amongst the public as well.
Yeah.
With people supporting and not supporting, etc. But
there's going to be so much grey area as they come into the league.
Yeah, bit of a shame, honestly.
Feels a bit rushed.
It does. We've got some people in the comments. Stephen Camilleri says Tasmania is a bigger version of Geelong, so they need to start selling farms to country boys. I mean, obviously Geelong have the priority of being very close to Melbourne. So people that want that lifestyle still have the
access to Melbourne,
access to a big city. So I think that's a big deal. I mean, I think anyone that's been to Hobart in recent times, like it's a pretty nice place to be. Like I said, like it's really, as a city, it is like flourishing. It's growing.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say it's not nice.
Yeah. But certainly you are, like, you're slightly more isolated, obviously.
Settle for the simpler things in life if you're heading to Tassie. Nice farm, good people, go to work, honest living.
Nature walks.
You know, who needs the big smoke?
Bit cheaper.
Yeah.
All of those sorts of things.
Get paid a fat stack of money if you go and play there.
Well, that's going to be the big thing to begin with, isn't it?
Here comes the money. Here we go.
Birdman
money
says the
time.
Draft is finished.
Hasn't started yet. It's in November.
Quick question, Drews. I got that.
It was fantastic.
Do you think there's a world where the AFL goes, they just go, fuck the draft academy?
Yeah. I think we talk about this on a stream, like the draft is not actually legally enforceable.
Make it like the Premier League.
Imagine. Well, that's what the NRL did. Like the draft is not legally enforceable because it's restraint of trade. So if the AFL Players Association like challenged the draft, the AFL wouldn't be able to enforce it, and therefore this is why the draft has gotten more and more compromised the AFL can't actually push back on.
It's
the way it
more
works.
something that we've just agreed upon.
Yeah,
Everyone's kind of like, okay, we'll work within these parameters to make it work.
yeah, and it doesn't.
Do you
And
think
it
that could
plays
be a
temperature.
genuine outcome that the draft goes eventually?
Yeah, I do think so.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it'll
for
be probably more academy focused.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, doing it like that too, like what you get out of it from a league perspective for the game is that you're like actively encouraging clubs to go after young talent and pull them from like other sports and chase them. And
Yeah,
it's everything that would make the game
I'd hate it long term, I reckon.
just because of what it would do to the
It'll
league.
just turn into the Premier League.
Yeah.
It'll just be Collingwood, Richmond, West Coast.
Oh no.
Maybe who else would be in there?
Yeah, I mean,
It would be like the clubs with the most, like North Melbourne would be at the bottom forever.
Geelong would still be up there.
Yeah, Geelong.
I actually think in that case, it would turn just a bit more like capitalistic and clubs would just sort of get eaten.
There would be like 3
Or-
good clubs in Melbourne, and that would be it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I guess it's just whether you think that's bad or good.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, if you
Yeah.
support a shitty side, it's bad.
But the
that's true.
the AFL will always want the game to grow.
Yeah, I think it'll incentivize like the clubs that can go out and find the talent.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that is already true. That is already true.
So they'd have to start scouting at like 12 years old.
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to,
Yeah.
because if you're starting to scout, like, these blokes are coming in at 18, you start scouting.
Well, I
under
reckon you'd start
16s,
scouting
under
even
15s.
younger.
Okay.
Younger than 12.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were doing like full on academies like they do in the soccer.
Yeah.
That's true,
It's
yeah.
younger.
Well, then that would open the door for like, under 18s AFL, like the under 18s leagues and shit.
Yeah, yeah, it totally would.
Be crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean
Yeah.
those do exist. Drizzy.
Yeah. What?
The Coast Talent League.
Yeah, I know, but it's not
You mean
like
AFL
affiliated to
aligned?
clubs.
AFL
like the
aligned.
Freemantle
okay.
Dockers under
Sorry,
18s.
yes, I'm with you.
Used to
Yeah.
be. That actually was a thing.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, under 18 AFL teams.
Oh, in the VFL though.
Oh, in the VFL.
That's
no.
what I'm saying. Like each
That's-
team
oh,
would have
okay.
their affiliate
Yeah.
under 18 squad. And it's like, Freo have an injury crisis. We've brought someone up from our academy.
From our
Yeah.
academy, yeah.
So sorry, I meant in like pre-1987, like Richmond would have had an under 18 team. Is that what you mean?
No, like I went to an under 18 game, I think in like the 90s, a North Melbourne one. And like that was North Melbourne.
That's weird.
I'm certain.
And that wasn't a VFL team called North Melbourne.
Yeah, there was. There was a VFL, like you had
Oh.
seniors.
Yeah.
Was it like
Yeah.
an exhibition?
Oh, that'd be like their Colts then.
Nah.
No.
Would that not be like
Like,
Perth Demons
I'm
Colts?
pretty sure like Wayne Carey came from our under 18 team,
Right.
like in the early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me fact
I
check
don't
all
know.
of that.
For my
I know.
time.
This is sort of I'm just going back off memory here.
Yeah.
Somebody
Um,
get
how
in
we
the
feeling,
in the
should we-
comments.
I reckon we'd finish this off pretty quickly if we can, the last topic.
Yeah.
Or do you want to?
push it to next week?
I feel like it's pretty timely to do.
I actually don't know if it is. I
what-
reckon it could actually be like after trade period.
Yeah.
Okay, up to you. I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind an early finish because I got to go work.
Yeah,
like a
I was actually
slave.
thinking of you when I said it. and
We've
I think
we've
had-
covered a fair bit,
Yeah,
so
we
we can push
have.
it back. We'll go through a couple of comments. We've actually lost our chat screen here in
Yeah,
front.
that's all right. I
It's
got it.
disappeared. What do we have here? Under 19s used to be curtain raisers to the actual game back in the day. That's exactly what I saw. So I was at the MCG.
There you
Okay.
go.
Always wanted it back. That is a good point. Bindi Dylan, the draft changes come in from 2026 AFL draft, not from 2025 AFL draft. Okay.
All three of you have a laptop in front of you. Just fucking look it up.
But I don't know what to look up. Like, was there AFL under 18?
I suppose
I don't know if
just,
it'll
yeah.
come up.
Yeah, but imagine if every time we had a conversation piece, we're like, let's fact check that. You know,
Yeah, I know. It'd take
it's
too
footy
long.
from the flat, bro. The theme is we talk a little bit of shit at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mainly
exactly.
me more than these guys.
And when we're talking about early 90s, when I was about
Yeah.
5 years old.
Yeah, it's more fun to speculate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was -6.
But obviously, like the draft only came in what, like 1987?
The draft?
That's when it was at
let's
least.
just fucking look it up.
I reckon
as
there was a
well,
draft
mate.
in 1990. So
Yeah.
maybe like 88, 89.
But I think that's when the pieces started to get put together. Like they
Yeah.
swung from the zone.
1986.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
okay. So it must have been when
I
the
searched it up, making them at night just for his
Yeah.
viewing
making them at
pleasure.
night. That's the comedian. What's his name? Shane Gillis. He's making them at night.
That's a Shane Gillis thing?
Yeah, it's a bit not PC, so I'll explain off here. But
Right.
it's funny.
Birdman says, also opens the door for the clubs to explore international academies. I assume that's back to our academy chat.
What, you're going to go get Kai Rooney on your list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Wayne Rooney's son.
Rooney's
Oh, yeah, right. I assume
Obviously.
it had an NBA name, Kate Rooney.
Hey?
I don't know. It just sounded more like an NBA player than it did a footballer.
Yeah.
You don't hear that name. This is just like going off on a massive tangent, but like I just mentioned Wayne Carey. Like you don't hear the name Wayne that much anymore. do you?
Yeah. When was the last time you met a teenager called Craig?
Craig.
Yeah.
That name's died
I
now.
think is it the name Phil? It's either Phil or Paul is like, oh no, it's Gary in the UK is like dying
Gary.
out.
Yeah.
Gary.
My
Yeah,
dad's
it's Gary.
name's Gary.
Oh, there you go.
Gaz.
Yeah.
You really don't hear that
Nah.
one much anymore.
What if you would have like a son? What would his name be? Firstborn son.
Gary.
What?
Actually, yeah. I was gonna say.
I never thought about it.
I like
You've never thought about it.
No.
I like the names William or Xavier.
Gee, that's very,
Traditional.
very traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like the only one in my family who doesn't have William in his name for like the last 4 men in my family.
Yeah.
It's like
okay.
William, Kimberly William, and then me.
It's
Mine's
it's very like private school.
Yeah.
names.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather was William.
Yeah, okay.
I've got multiple good friends called William.
mine's a bit left field. Donny.
How do we get here? Donny.
Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, I like
What
Donny.
are we doing? Donny.
Yeah.
Why Donny? That suits you for some reason.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a fun name.
yeah,
Yeah.
little Donny.
What about Slobberon?
Slobber
What
on.
would his full name be? Slobber on Cox. Oh, you little. Ah, all right, we probably should need to wrap this up
Let's
now.
wrap this up.
Gag
That
on.
is our trade special edition of Footy from the Flat on this Saturday morning. We will be back with more trade news, speculation, and all football news next weekend.
Yes. Thank you once again, everyone who tuned in, got involved. In particular, thank you for. Oh my God, we
look
have
at the graphic.
we have graphics. Well done. Well done, team.
Shout out to producer Victor as
Producer
always. as
Producer
well.
Vic smashed it once again. And thank you for the donations in particular. It's very
She
generous.
put those up so we noticed.
Yeah, no, it was elite. It was
was
elite.
great.
Yeah.
Production improving by the minute.
Yeah.
That's
All
it.
right,
All
let's
right,
call it.
guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Go Freo.